Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. It's the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series Season 7 playoffs. Last week, got to see 16 drivers cut down to 10, and the first race of the round of 10, it's the one-to-go Graphics 225 here at Kansas. Kansas Speedway, going to be your first destination where we expect to see drivers putting on a show. This track, multi-group racing, and everyone's searching on where the speed will be at. Practice just ended, qualifying is about to begin. And again, thank you for joining with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Joshua Altus. Josh, after last week, getting to see Douglas Newbigging find himself into victory lane. I mean, certainly a race at Auto Club that had some turmoil, some drivers missing out on moving on to the next round of the playoffs, but they just said, we're ready for a new round.
Yeah, that we are, Sam. Great to be with you up here in the booth tonight, man. Round of 10. It's off to round 2 in the playoffs here, so everything's going to get started at Kansas tonight, and all those guys in the points, we're going to push them right back together. Not a whole lot of margin of error, so I'm going to be interested to see who can get the round of 10, round 2, off to a good start tonight.
10 drivers that are in the playoffs hunting as the points have been reset. Only points the drivers are given are those of the playoff points for drivers that won a race and got fastest laps of those races. Got one bonus point to work with for each of those events that happened. And top of the board coming into tonight, going to be Ben Nelson as well as Shane Terry, going to be your top 2 in points with just a 6-point buffer over the cut line. Douglas Newbigging is going to be third in points with a 4-point buffer over Joshua Kanata. Then fourth is going to be Larry Yangling with just 2 points over Joshua Kanata, with Cedric Hunter and Ryan Kelly just a 1-point buffer over the cut line. Then the drivers that are outside of our top 6 in points that need to have some good weeks here tonight and next week: Joshua Kanata, Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hull, Nick Crawford, all are going to be outside looking in. Kanata's only 1 point out, but the other 3, 2 points out from the good. And with us having over 30 drivers racing here tonight, there's a lot of points that can be grabbed or lost here this evening. And Josh, qualifying, curious on how impactful this is going to be for the drivers to start out tonight's event, again, for the one-to-go Graphics 225.
Absolutely, and this is where it starts tonight, Sam, as we're looking at the board. Benjamin Nelson on the top, and now Zach Hall is going to be sitting on the provisional pole. So you can see on our ticker here on the left hand of your screen, those drivers highlighted in red are going to be our playoff contenders. So, yeah, qualifying, that's where it all starts tonight. You want a good pit stall selection, want to be up front so you don't have to worry about, potentially getting in the eye of the storm, any accidents or anything like that. So, yeah, this is where it all starts right here.
And drivers still flip-flopping around, and one that just was the fastest during practice, now top of the board, it's Shane Tarian in the 9 machine. Your regular season champion has been quick as Brian P. Johnson trying to top the board. The last driver to get a pole award here at Kansas was back in season 5. Zach Hall was the driver to do so. We'll see how well Hall can do for his qualifying. It's second only here. We'll see if he can stay on the front row as Kyle Heath with a surprising push to the top. Other drivers that are trying to recover after disappointment runs in the round of 16. Brandon Colley, that one machine, had some interesting takes on how he wanted to run Auto Club last week. Trapped himself a lap down. Now it's just a redemption run of just get wins, no longer in the playoffs. But other drivers that are, it's our Season 1 champion, Brian P. Johnson, up to 9th after his second lap is completed. Other drivers trying to put some qualifying times down. It's brother Brian Johnson. It's Brian with an eye getting loose after his first lap. That's not a clean start, but he's got one more lap if he wants to go for a good starting position. Our winner from last week, it's Douglas Newbigging, going to be his first lap clocked in. It's good enough for 20th, 30.636.
And looking at the board a little further, Ryan Kelly, another playoff driver, Sam, puts it on the outside of the front row currently. It's sitting at P2. And then welcome back to Cole Sacchetti. Cole's been away, a little bit of a break from iRacing, and he's back in action. Obviously not in the playoffs, but we talked about this a lot last week, Sam, about other drivers who aren't in the playoffs, as Douglas Newbigging jumps up to the top of the board as I'm speaking about that. But other guys that are not in the playoffs, Sam, they still have an agenda themselves, and it's simply just to go out here and chase trophies.
It certainly is, and to see who can play spoiler. There's a lot of non-playoff drivers that are having some good runs currently, as Larry Yingling, first lap, was good enough for 20th position in 30.593. Talking about Douglas Newbegin's first lap, maybe wasn't the fastest. He put it all on the second, and Larry Yingling's hoping that he could top the board. The driver that got the pole here for the first time they ran back in season 3 comes up short, second for the 67. It was a good surge, it was a good run, and that will be the conclusion of qualifying. No other drivers out there setting times. Anyone that's out on track, just putting in a little bit of practice for themselves. As qualifying sponsored by Colley's mom. Colley's mom, always hoping to see Brandon Colley succeed to be inside of the top 10. Always hoping for a win, but ultimately, can he get the pole? Well, it didn't happen here tonight. As we get ourselves ready, the driver's about to grid up, and we get prepared for the first race of the round of 10. The drivers are ready for Kansas. Who's going to be shining under the lights? Well, let's find out for our Colley's mom's qualifying results. It's going to be seeing the 7 of Douglas Newbigin taking the top of the board as the 7 logs in and gets prepared. The rest of the field behind the 7, it's Larry Yingling in the 67. Shane Terrian going to be in 3rd with Ryan Kelly 4th. 5th goes the craft coming back. We saw him last night running well. It's the 42, Cole Sketty. It's great to have you back out on track, Cole. Zach Hall going to be in 6th. Thomas Walter 7th. 8th goes to Kyle Heath. Brad Delphin, great qualifying run for the 6th machine. Going to be in 9th with Benjamin Nelson finishing out our top 10.
And starting just outside the top 10, Sam, is Christopher Norris. He, unfortunately, one of our playoff guys that got eliminated last week. So Christopher Norris will roll off 11th. To his outside, Brandon Colley will start 12th. Solid starting position by Brandon Colley. Nolan Hitz will start 13th. Brian P. Johnson, one of our playoff guys, Sam, going to be starting 14th tonight. Starting 15th will be the 0-1 of Aaron Kralik. To his outside will be Brian Noel, starting 16th. Mason Cassidy will roll off from 17th tonight. To his outside will be Ken Campbell, starting 18th. Chris Stitz will start 19th tonight. And rounding out the top 20 will be Isaiah Sutherland.
Deep in the field, playoff driver is going to be Nick Crawford in 21st position, Joshua Kanata in 22nd, John Forbes, who found himself being knocked out of the playoffs, going to be in 23rd, Cody Reed going to be in 24th, our Talladega winner, seeing how he can perform here tonight at Kansas. Ollie Fonseca in 25th, Cedric Hunter 26th position, Danny Cochran in 27th, Brian with an eye Johnson back in 28th, Ross Tatum 29th, and finishing out our 30 drivers this evening, it's James Kaufman in the 25. 30 drivers going to be tackling this evening. A lot of drivers deciding to start in the back, some because of poor qualifying times, others for making the decision of just not wanting to qualify. Tonight's race is going to be 150 laps in total. A competition caution will be thrown at lap 40 unless a caution flag was thrown before lap 40, which will negate and we will no longer have a competition caution. We will have no fast repairs, 5 extra sets of tires in pit road. Fuel run expected to be 40 to 45 laps. Josh, any final thoughts before we take off and get ready to start the round of 10?
Well, I mean, I think we're in for a treat. I think there's a lot of unknowns coming in tonight. Obviously, the playoff guys who are starting up front, it's going to be a great place to start. The top 5, all playoff guys, but then a couple playoff guys starting a little further back tonight. So it'll be interesting to see if those guys can make their way forward or if they're going to struggle.
Who will be able to make it through tonight's race? Multi-groove racing is expected. The inside lane, the outside lane, both can be utilized, but expecting a lot of drivers to move to the top at some point. Pace car into pit road. We're into the restart zone. The Wendigo Graphics 225 at Kansas is underway. Playoff racing, round of 10. Here we go. It's Douglas Newbigin, Larry Yingling, gonna drag racing down into turn number 1.
Down into turn 1 they go. Larry Yingling going to fight hard on that outside. He's got the slight advantage over Douglas Newbigin. Really great launch by Larry, and it looks like he's going to be able to take the lead down the back stretch.
And there's already drivers having issues in the back. It's Brandon Colley in the 1. Massive collision for himself. Ross Tatum also going to be collected for the 21. Hard contact to the outside wall. They both continue to run, but very slow and gingerly moving forward. No yellow flag will be thrown. We continue to stay green, and up front, it's still side by side for the lead. Larry Yingling will lead lap 1 for the 67. Other drivers still bouncing back and forth on how they want to roll on the inside, outside lane. They're still 2x2 through the most of the middle of the field. As you see Ross Tatum have to go into pit road, expecting the same for the one of Brandon Colley. But a lot of drivers bouncing all around. It's Cole Sketty, Zach Hall. They're all in line, looking clean, but here is the hornet's nest of everyone from about 8th on back.
Oh yeah, you can see the mesh right here, and Brian P. Johnson, excuse me, right in the middle of the pack here. Sam trying to pick his way forward, trying to utilize that outside lane. And it's going to be fun to watch to see what lane is going to be predominant as the night goes on.
Update on Ross Tatum. Required damage after that heavy contact to the outside wall is forcing the 21 into pit road. The one of Brandon Colley able to continue to race, which is a bad slip up off the exit of turn number 1 that got these drivers in trouble as Brian P. Johnson, the 28 machine, trying to make his way forward, following in the line of the 79 for a quick second there, but everyone jostling back and forth. The question was going to be looming, where do you want to place your vehicle, and what was passing going to be like? Was it going to be easy or difficult this evening? It's looking like for the drivers up front, not a lot of movement going on, but the middle of the pack is where the jostling is happening. You're trying to find any advantage, and Josh, it's looking like it's pretty stalled out, pretty difficult to make any moves currently.
Yeah, it certainly does look like that. I mean, I'm kind of keeping an eye on this top 3 right now. They've been racing really hard since the drop of the green flag. Sam Larry Yingling got that advantage. Douglas Newbigin really fought back, and now Shane Tyrion's going to slot his way into second now. So let's see if these guys can kind of get things sorted out and ride. But just like you're saying, Sam, right around that, right outside the top 10 there, Brian P. Johnson, currently sitting 11th. He's moved up a couple spots from his 14th place starting spot, but that is definitely going to be the eye of the storm and the place to watch.
Now here in Kansas in the past, this track has only been ran 2 times. Back in Season 3 when they were in the Gen 6 machine, and in Season 5 when they transitioned to the Gen 7. Drivers were trying to figure out how to run this track, but a lot of cautions were being ballooned out. There were 7 cautions the first time they ran back in Season 3, 8 cautions back in Season 5. And that was going to be a question coming into tonight. Would they continue with this season, a Season 7's trend of 1.5 mile tracks or bigger, having a low caution count? Or would the past trends continue on with having a lot more cautions here at this track? Currently 7 laps in, this field's starting to spread out up front, as they are giving a lot of space, and drivers trying to make the choice. Do you protect your tires or do you get aggressive? As we're seeing Zach Hall as well as Thomas Walter, Kyle Keith is grouping 5th back to 8th.
Yeah, one thing I'm already starting to notice, Sam, just a little bit, is just the different groups some of these guys are starting to run. The leaders, we can both see Larry Yingling and Shane Tyrion starting to work that outside a lot, but Douglas Newbigin and some of these guys, Ryan Kelly, Cole Sacchetti, Zach Hall, all back in the top 5, beginning of the top 10. They're all right on that white line, just hugging that bottom line there. So interested to see what line's going to prevail. And right now, inside for most guys, but the 2 leaders are liking it up top.
See the drivers again, just outside of the top 10. Bouncing back and forth. Some of the biggest movers so far in the middle of the field, up 6 positions, both for Isaiah Sutherland and Nick Crawford, trying to join in the mix with 77 of Brian Noel. Up 4 spots is the 77, as they are going side by side in the middle of the pack, utilizing both lanes. But Brian P. Johnson not moving forward, kind of stalling out. Is this 28 machine trying to utilize his speed as Nick Crawford, he's kind of stalling out and willing to just follow, it looks like, with Isaiah Sutherland.
Yeah, it's interesting, Sam. We talked about this a little bit before we came on air, but Kansas is kind of one of those drafting tracks that you don't really talk about a lot with these cars, but it's kind of like a pack racing almost. And if you can break away from that draft, break away from the pack, as you see, most of our top 10 has kind of gotten away. But these guys, 11th on back, or really Brad Delph is P9 right now. Pretty much Brad Delph on back here, you can just see them where they're all formed up in this pack, and there's really nowhere to go. I mean, if you clear one guy, you kind of get stalled out behind the next guy, and then the guy behind you is trying to attack you, taking your spot. So it's very packed up right now.
Yeah, and all the drivers, I mean, from 20th to our leader, running maybe a 10th or less difference each lap that's being put down. So they're running very equal on lap times, and that's why you're seeing this pack racing. It's stalling out this group in the middle. They're not even really advanced the way that they would like, and they're getting very close to almost making contact at times with the drivers on the front stretch. They're utilizing the apron, trying to cut the distance down that you're traveling, but it could be costly if you're finding yourself in any type of troubles running on board with Campbell's machine of Ken Campbell in 17th position. He's just getting a good windshield view of all of this madness in front of him, as well as trying to find a way to get by some other drivers. Nick Crawford, Chris Stitz, they're having a little bit of blocking between one another.
Yeah, and you referenced it, Sam, that kind of cutting the apron there on the front stretch. That's a really good way to try to make up some time, but you got to be careful too, because sometimes that driver on the outside, he might not necessarily give you the room you think you're going to have when you come back up off the apron there. So I've seen a lot of guys get in trouble there where, the car to the outside is not entitled to necessarily have to move up and give you that space. So something to keep an eye on throughout the night.
We're having a battle for the lead as well going on right now. Douglas Newbigging and Larry Yingling going to be Newbigging able to make the pass after giving up the early 2 positions, protecting his tires. Those tires have now moved on. 14 laps in the books. We got a new leader here tonight. It's going to be the 7. Our pole sitter finally able to cruise control on the inside lane. And it looks like the protection of the tires is working out as the 2 drivers with Shane Terry and Larry Yingling that were running the top. It seems to be backfiring now as they're losing a little bit of touch to our leader. Another driver who had some troubles just a lap ago, the 3 of Ryan Kelly getting into the outside wall. That's another thing we got to watch out for, is drivers getting into the outside wall when they're trying to chase their vehicle. It just wants to get a little snappy loose on it.
Yeah, that's something you got to really be careful of, because these cars, we talk about how durable they are, but if they get in the wall, that wall really likes to suck you in, and it doesn't let you go very easily. So could definitely get you in big trouble if you're not too careful.
And we do have an update on the 21 of Ross Tatum. Has called it a night after being involved on a first lap incident with Brandon Colley. And so 21 of Ross Tatum calling it a night. Colley's still out there on track, but needing the competition caution to come out as quickly as possible. We do have a competition caution at lap 40. If there is no yellow before lap 40, that is when we will see that competition caution be thrown. But if there is a caution before then, that will count. That's our one and only competition caution of the evening. Dallas Newbigging still leading the way and pulling away dramatically. He's almost a full second ahead of second place. So I'm already seeing the fact, Josh, it already seems like maybe the outside can be fast at the beginning of a portion of this race, but protecting your tires is going to be very impactful. And this might be the most impactful race of protecting your tires of the season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. We think of, at least I do, I think of like Atlanta and Homestead as big tire wear tracks, but Kansas certainly can be one as well, and we're seeing it right now. But, going back to Douglas Newbigging real quick, Sam, talk about momentum right now. The guy went out there and won last week, punched his ticket to the next round, and man, he's picking up right where he left off. He'd love to go ahead and punch his ticket to the finals right now.
Yeah, he's been on a crazy streak of finishes for himself ever since he won back at Dover. He's then finished 6th, 9th, 1 at Auto Club. He's had a good spree of 4 races that he's trying to carry that momentum for a championship push. It's going well. Kyle Heath, one of the newcomers, joined with the WSSR back at Talladega. The 31 has had some sneaky speed. Got caught up late at the end of Auto Club and get the finish that he was hoping for, but was up front inside of the top 10 for majority of the night. This 31, got to be questioning, Nate, what would he have been doing out there on the track if he showed up? But our first caution that day comes out, and it's trouble for John Forbes and the 11, and I believe as well going to be the 11 and the 38. Having trouble between themselves, and those are teammates on Monday night, but obviously not going to be teammate type of action showing here this evening.
Yeah, and those are 2 drivers that both got eliminated last week, Sam. They were both playoff contenders, and unfortunately were unable to advance. As we take a look at the replay right here, it looks like just a coming together. I don't know if Norris maybe bounced off the wall a little bit there and came down a little bit, and they kind of banged doors, and then John Forbes went around there. So that doesn't look anything too bad there. It looks like just a kind of a light spin, and they should both be able to carry on.
Yeah, And it looks like Norris trying to keep himself off that outside wall, yanked the steering wheel, broke a little bit loose, clips the 11, and then it's just go for a ride and hope for the best. Huge kudos to Ollie Fonseca for trying to get around, as well as Joshua Kanata on getting around this 11 without making any extra contact. John Forbes never hit anything. Christopher Norris didn't either. So a racing incident you hate to see. Both drivers going to be able to recover, and we'll get back out on track after this pit stop, as this will count as our competition caution. We could go caution free from here on out, as the whole entire field into pit road. They got 5 sets of tires to work with. Might as well use one now, as we're 20 laps in.
Yeah, feeding time on pit road, Sam. I think it's safe to say we're probably going to see 4 tires and fuel from probably everybody right here. I'd be surprised if we saw any kind of strategy moves here.
As looking through the field, drivers further on back already taken off, but Douglas Newbigin clean pit stop for himself. It's not a lot of movement on drivers losing positions, except for Shane Terrian losing 1 spot. Gonna fall down to 5th position for the 9 machine. And actually losing multiple positions with Shane Terrian on that pit stop. Just not a good stop for himself overall, but hey, well, can still recover from this position. A driver, though, that actually gained a lot of positions under pit road. It's got Ryan Kelly. Kelly in the 3 had a major slip up getting that outside wall. He's now up to 3rd after this stop.
Yeah, that's a great stop by Ryan Kelly there. Looks like, I think I see him 7th here, so gained a couple spots there, or maybe 6th. It's still trying to sort out. Yep, so still trying to sort out a little bit, but yeah, that's a great bounce back for Ryan Kelly there after getting in the wall right there. So he should be okay. I got 4 fresh tires on it. And, my question to you, Sam, is, at Charlotte, we saw something kind of similar. It wasn't quite this late. It was a little bit earlier at Charlotte, but we saw a quick caution there, and then we went green all the way. Is that something you think we could see tonight, or do you think we could possibly see some more cautions here?
I think it's very possible that we could be seeing that, but at the same notion, we could see the opposite happen because of the fact of how much pack racing that it took about 20 laps for the spacing out of these packs and groups to finally initiate. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in the first 5 laps of this restart, we see some drivers maybe get a little bit over aggressive trying to take some positions and maybe make some aggressive moves that they wouldn't have made if this caution flag didn't come out. So we'll see how drivers want to react. If they want to be more aggressive, who's going to be more patient? I think being more patient, such as what we saw from Douglas Newbigin, protect those tires, might be the better reward later on, but who knows what we might see from some of these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of these guys might be trying to think about getting some track position early, Sam, so we'll see how it pans out here.
Fresh tires, and everyone is set up and ready to take off. 22 laps in the book. Plenty of racing action still to be made. No more competition caution will be thrown. And we're back to green flag racing for the 1-to-go graphics 225 here at Kansas. The first race of the round of 10. And Douglas Newbigin is taking off and gone. The front runners already going to be single filed up and side by side quickly. Going to be single filing out for a lot of our front runners. It's not until you fall back to around 6th and 7th. Drivers are side by side for a quick moment.
And Larry Yingling is wasting no time, Sam, going straight back to that outside line. He was running at that opening stint, trying to take a look from Douglas Newbigin here. He wants the lead in the number 67.
Douglas Newbigin protecting the inside groove. That's where he wants to be to protect the tires. But Larry Yingling says, well, I might have to protect my tires later on, but I know I can push and be aggressive here for at least a couple of laps before I need to go in protect mode as they continue to stay side by side. Who will react behind them, though, as Zach Hall's watching the show? Same for Cole Sacchetti. They're thinking about, hey, how is this lead pass going to be made? And Larry Yingling gets back on the throttle sooner, and he's already got the lead and back to the point where he was at the start of the race.
Yep, Larry Yingling back to the point, Sam. Let's see how long he can hang on to it here. I don't necessarily hate the strategy. Push while you can right on the restart. Try to get that track position, get that lead, and then settle in and try to save your stuff. So good job by Larry Yingling there. But yeah, a little further behind, I got my eye on Zach Hall as well as Cole Sacchetti, kind of just lurking back there, Sam. So those might be 2 guys to watch tonight.
They certainly do. Another one to watch out for, Isaiah Sutherland and Benjamin Nelson. Nelson has not moved in position, but some of the moves that he's been willing to make right before the caution flag came out, the 79 was looking very aggressive, and Isaiah Sutherland looks like he wants to get up front immediately with how aggressive his 14's looking.
Yeah, two completely different agendas for these guys, Sam. Benjamin Nelson, obviously, in the points, trying to make his way forward, trying to get in a good position. Isaiah Sutherland, literally nothing to lose. He's out here to try to win races. So it's kind of risk versus reward at this point, right? Sutherland, he can be more risky because he doesn't have as much to lose, but one slip up from Benjamin Nelson, I mean, he entered today only 6 points above the cut line, and he was the leader in the points. So one mistake from him, and he could be finding himself in the hole.
And we talked about how the other tracks, and trying to bring reference to the other mile-and-a-half tracks. I feel like when we talk about the mile-and-a-half tracks, Benjamin Nelson's been on top of every single board we go to. Here tonight, wasn't the fastest third tracks, was the fastest third qualifying. We know he's got some top 5 speed for the 79. The question is, how does he place himself to be up front, to try to get into victory lane, and do so once again? He's already gotten into victory lane 3 times this season, and tonight be the 4th as other drivers trying to make their moves forward. Other big contenders, Brian Noel trying to move forward, but a lot of gaggling going around that of the 15 with Ken Campbell back in 13th position. As the 15 machine is looking very close to the outside wall every time we exit the corner. I'm getting nervous with this pack we're seeing on screen.
Yeah, King Campbell right there, and Cedric Hunter, another playoff driver. You can see him in the pink Hello Kitty 13 car right there, Sam, right in the middle of this pack. So, and King Campbell, what an absolute heartbreak from last week, Sam. We talked about it a little bit, about how having some connection issues, and just, you know, took him out of the playoffs where he was seemingly in a really good position to advance. So it's tough for Ken Campbell. He's done a great job this season, so definitely wants to finish the season strong. But Cedric Hunter right there battling to the outside of Brad Delph right there. We heard him just mic up and say not clear, so you can see where these guys are battling and have their hands full.
The drivers are getting pretty vocal whenever it gets very close to one another, trying to give each other plenty of space. When there's time to make some big moves, Cedric Hunter has the opportunity to try to make some big moves for himself. As the 13's trying to make the pass on Ken Campbell, other drivers starting to make a little bit of creeping forward. Now Larry Yingling, he moved out to about a 4/10 of a second lead over Douglas Newbigging for a quick moment. It's now down to less than 3/10 and slowly chipping away. The 7 is trying to keep the gap close for the battle for first. Curious on how they're going to react as driver that was just caught up in our last incident to bring out our first yellow of the day, Christopher Norris, trying to get by Ollie Fonseca. Norris, one of the biggest losers so far in where they qualified to where they're running. The 38 and 19th place, trying to get by Ollie Fonseca, the ISRC truck drivers that have battled and rivaled one another. A lot of rivalries have mounted up after Monday night this week. If you haven't checked out how the ISRC drivers race, you need to go back and check it out. As Christopher Norris, Steeler, and knocking out his teammate from the playoffs in his 3rd win of the season, and one of the drivers that he kind of moved to get that win. What's the 24 of Ollie Fonseca? Curious on how they want to be a little bit friendly, maybe tonight in a different car, or will they be aggressive? And there's another bump of Christopher Norris to Ollie's back bumper. Ollie's not going to like that.
Talk about perfect timing there, Sam. Yeah, it's funny because we talk about it all the time. So many of these guys race across multiple different leads together, and I'll tell you from firsthand experience, those boys on Monday night, they are hard-nosed racers. I mean, they do not give an inch to each other, and you can see a little bit of radio transmission going back and forth between those two right now, and yeah, I think it's safe to say maybe some aggression is carried over from another league, and you saw that tonight with that little bump there.
They'll continue to ride forward. That bump really hurting Norris as he'll lose a position almost more because of that loss of momentum. That's another thing that we're going to talk about on how drivers momentum based here at this track. And if you just have to let off a little bit, the straightaway speed is so massive for these drivers. They're going almost 190 miles per hour into these corners, close to almost 195 miles per hour. If you lose any type of speed, it's going to hurt you on the long run on any type of momentum. So these drivers trying to keep their speed going as Eric Kralik and the 01 has a scare off the 4 as he almost comes back crashing down into the field.
There's some hard racing going on back here, Sam. You can see John Forbes in the 11 as well starting to rip the fence. He was involved in that previous caution with Christopher Norris, so he's working on it. As we see, the 01 of Kralik got in the wall a little bit there, Sam. So hard racing going on everywhere, even right outside the top 20 here.
Getting a little antsy, and as they're getting aggressive back here, the tires starting to fade away for some, others finding the right grip that they want. The lead battle for the lead starting to heat up. No longer will it just be a battle of 2, it's a battle of 3 and almost 4. Zach Hall, Douglas Newbigging, they're all right on the back bumper of Larry Yingling, as we are right around that same transition period that we saw Douglas Newbigging on our first 20 laps of the race. We're starting to make that march forward to set up a pass for the lead.
Yeah, we sure are, Sam. This top 5 is starting to accordion together here a little bit as Douglas Newbigging is caught Larry Yingling. He is right on the bumper of the 67, looking to try to make the move. And Zach Hall looking strong as well, running in third.
I think a lot of drivers learned under that first stint how much tires were important, and you got to see how they just let Larry take off. He ran his way up front, and now Douglas Newbigging sees an opportunity, an opening to the inside. The 7 gonna gas up the throttle, move up just slightly through the center and exit of the corner, but a big wiggle for the 7. That's gonna be a little bit of lots of time. We'll stay side by side, drag racing, and down into turn number 1. Larry Yingling's got to make a decision. Does he just send it into the corner, and it looks like he'll back off and give Douglas Newbigging the lead?
Douglas Newbigging, he's going to retake the lead here. Larry Yingling not going to quite let him have it there, Sam, as he's going to pull up, use that momentum off turn 2 down the back stretch. Going to run it down in 3 and 4 here, but I think Douglas Newbigging is poised to take this position here sooner than later.
And for that of Larry Yingling, he is really putting the pressure, not giving a ton of space in 7 off the exit of turn 4. And this front straightaway is where a lot of that speed and momentum you can utilize. 67 and 7 continue to battle back and forth, but Larry, just he's holding that dotted line right where the showing of the middle groove to the bottom. That's a little bit of a pinching action is allowing them to continue to stay side by side, and this is hurting them ultimately because it's allowing Zach Hall to inch closer and closer. Same for Cole Sacchetti, but ultimately I've got my eyes circled on the 3 of Ryan Kelly and Shane Terry, and they're closing in as well and looking fast.
Yeah, there's a whole train of drivers that are starting to inch their way up here as we're watching this great battle for the lead right now. And like you said, the 67 of Larry Yingling, you talked about the pinch. He gets right on the door of the 7 car, and it kind of stalls out the momentum that you were talking about, Sam, of Douglas Newbigging trying to make this pass. And it's brought Zach Hall, Cole Sacchetti, Ryan Kelly, all these guys are right up at the battle now.
Continue to just pressure on top of one another, the side-by-side racing for the lead as we find ourselves with 111 laps to go here tonight, as it's the 1 to go graphics 225 for the WSSR Rosa Gems Cup Series. As they continue to battle back and forth, we do have to give a shout out to our sponsors here tonight that allowed WSSR to have this great racing action. We want to give a huge shout out to the title sponsor of Roasted Gems Coffee. Hey, maybe some of these drivers need to cool off, get into the pit road after this race, and just have a good sip of coffee to have themselves a joy of a conversation of how great this racing's been. And if you'd like to start your day off right, remember to go to roastedgems.com, use the promo code WSSR for 5% off on their wide range of coffee flavors. And as well, huge shout out to Trophy Smack, the title sponsors Roasted Gem. Well, our trophy sponsor is Trophy Smack. If you're looking for a custom trophy, or even look at the designs that Trophy Smack has already made themselves, go check out their wide range of selection of championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Go to trophysmack.com and use the promo code WSSR SMACK. WSSR SMACK is the one you want to use for 10% off after purchase. Thank you so much to the amazing sponsors that help out here at the WSSR. And right now, the Trophy Smack machine of Brian P. Johnson under fire for Brian Noel. This is for 11th position. Both drivers have been moving forward, and I think for Brian P. Johnson, he wants to be further more ahead.
Absolutely. And going back to that Trophy Smack sponsorship, Sam, I'm currently in 4 different fantasy football leagues, and I would love to win one of those Trophy Smack championship wall smat trophies. So really cool deal that they got going on over there.
Oh, they've got themselves. I mean, that was what the brand was initially made for, is that of Ben Nelson. Kyle Heath getting a little bit squeezed for the battle for 7th place, 97-31, as well as Isaiah Sutherland staying attached. But again, go check out TrophySmack.com. They've got a lot of different trophy styles and can all be customized by you, the customer. Thanks so much to the two amazing sponsors of Roasted Gems Coffee and Trophy Smack. As we're back to the racing action, these drivers are about halfway through on a fuel stint, but Josh, the tires, where will they lie? As I'm surprised that Larry Yingling was able to hold off Douglas Newbigging on that last battle we were just seeing. But right now it looks like Shane Tarian under the biggest fire from Ben Nelson and the rest of the crew as they've been making their charge forward.
Yeah, this is kind of turning into a little bit of a game of chess here, Sam. I'm almost wondering if Larry Yingling almost baited Douglas Newbigging to, you know, come take this lead and made him kind of wear his stuff out a little bit, trying to pass him. And then Larry just shot back by him and is starting to pull away a little bit. But a driver I've got my eye on, Sam, we can see him right here on the broadcast, that number 79 of Benjamin Nelson. He was our points leader entering tonight. And you talked about him not quite having the speed in practice and qualifying, but he's slowly starting to make his way to the front up to the 6th position now. And he's got his sights set on that top 5.
He certainly is. With Shane Tarian, he's got to be thinking, oh my goodness, I'm still alive, as he almost got pushed in the outside wall with Isaiah Sutherland's aggressive driving by the 14, trying to give more space for himself. And I'm curious on the thoughts of a driver, Josh, because I know you've raced multiple different leagues, but when you have playoff drivers and non-playoff drivers so equally matched with one another, racing at a track where these playoff rounds are just 2 races, 1 bad mistake, and you're out of this thing, how do you mentally set up as a playoff driver, knowing that your race could be ended by a non-playoff driver?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the risk versus reward factor that I mentioned earlier, Sam. It's just if you're in the playoffs, you have to determine, you know, is it worth the battle right now, and or can I concede the spot and kind of settle in and live to fight another day, you know, versus someone like Isaiah Sutherland that he has no worries about any kind of points or anything like that. He's just here to have a good time and try to finish as good as he can, try to win this race. But on the same token, if you're a non-playoff guy, you really don't want to be that guy that takes one of the playoff guys out of contention. So, you know, it's kind of a tough weighing thing that you got to keep in mind, you know, and you don't want to be that guy that takes somebody out, but at the same time, you have the right to race just as anyone else, and you have the right to get up here and compete and try to win as well.
Well, these drivers putting on a great show so far. We are just ending the 1/3 marker of tonight's race. Thank you so much to everyone joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We are going to take our first commercial break of the night, but when we come back, expecting pit stops in just a few moments. As you're watching WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, it's the one to go graphics 225 here at Kansas. The start of the round of 10. Who moves on for a championship round? We'll tell you more when we come back after this.
wide behind her pit.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. That's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes.
I know Carter gets run. It's gonna be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another.
Opportunity to drive it down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it, he steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck it.
Oh, they wrecked! They wrecked each other. The top two bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they gotta be careful. Oh no, and the 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. There was an incident going down between John Forbes and Chris Stitz, bringing out a caution flag. Drivers all came into pit road, got service done, and here's the incident side by side between the 11 and the 17. And when you're riding against one another, at some point, one of the drivers got to give, and there it went. The 17 into the 11, outside wall, hard collision, and once again, Josh, it's John Forbes, an innocent victim that just has no chance, caught up with a second caution for himself.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're in the windshield, and unfortunately, John Forbes has been the bug tonight. It's just not going his way, but looks like just a product of really hard racing. But we're going to restack them now, Sam. Everyone came to pit road, 4 fresh tires. We got just under 100 laps to go, and it looks like Douglas Newbigging won the race off pit road, so we get to see Newbigging versus Yingling again.
Here we go, round number 3. Who's going to survive this one? Into the restart zone. It's the 1 to go graphics, 2 to 25 here at Kansas. And Douglas Newbigging, not even worrying or caring, already going to be gone. And it was so gone that Larry Yingling had plenty of time just to drop down behind that 7 machine. Now it looms on who's going to be able to attack going forward, and Ryan Kelly up to 3rd. This 3 machines looking quick. There's a couple of new names inside of the top 10 that are looking fast as well. You can see the cast of drivers moving forward, and I mean, Josh, this is looking like this is going to be some good racing from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely. Douglas Newbigging put in the chat right when that caution came out. He said just when it was going to get good. So this is going to be really fun watching to the end. We essentially have a 100-lap sprint to the end here. We're anticipating only one more stop that's going to be needed for these drivers, depending on when and if the caution comes out.
As you're seeing the drivers bobbing back and forth, a lot of that action going to be for 10th place for Cedric Hunter and the pink Hello Kitty machine trying to move forward. Shane Tarian stuck to the outside lane and just trying to work that wall and finding any type of speed, and he got the run, dashing down to the inside lane to get by Isaiah Sutherland. The other drivers utilizing the apron as well. That's free game. You can be down there, but it doesn't mean the driver on the outside of you is going to give you the space. You got to be careful every time you make that move. As Nick Crawford up to 6th place. Crawford, one of the drivers, same with Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson, that were 2 points out from the good. Those 3 drivers needing a solid day and needing some of the other drivers that are in red to start to falter if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick Crawford, someone I was just about to highlight. Sam, you talking about some new names moving forward here. He started all the way back in the 21st position, Sam. So he's done a really great job of working his way to the front here, and he's found himself solidly inside the top 10 now.
He's trying to make his way forward, but one of the drivers that's not solidly inside of our top 10, not even in their top 15, Joshua Kanata, that 16 machine needs some help. Like we said earlier, the drivers in red are those of the 10 drivers that are still in the playoffs hunting for a championship. They've got tonight's race, then next week they're going to be at Richmond. That will be the end of the round of 10 before we get our 6 drivers that will race for a championship, where they will have just 2 races to see who has the most points at Homestead and Chicagoland, which tonight, the sister track to Chicagoland, tonight could be a lot of good information on how that last race of the season could be ran.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of the final stretch here. The format is really cool, Sam. We're used to seeing, you know, the classic NASCAR format now, the 1 race finale, the final 4, but this you get a final 6 and 2 races to decide it. So it's going to be really fun to slice this group of 10 down to 6 and see who's going to be that final 6 going for the championship.
As Joshua Kanata still trying to find his way moving forward in 16th position for the 16 machine. Ken Campbell also trying to make his way forward. Mason Cassidy around. These drivers just in the survival mode in 13th and 14th. How do you move forward as a group? It's looked so difficult to make passes for some drivers in the early portions. It seems like we got to be 20 laps through a run before you can finally start to make some moves forward, utilizing some of that tire wear disparity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it seems like the pack mentality, just like you said, Sam, the first 10, 15 laps of the run is Ken Campbell is battling really hard with the 4-car. Mason Cassidy right here almost slid up and made contact with Mason Cassidy. So a lot of hard battles going on here around the top 15.
And Ken Campbell has been a driver that's in the early couple of laps has shown some aggression, kind of some tears of getting into some close moments, but at least just showing scares, not fully committing to them, as Mason Cassidy in the 4 trying his best. The 4 machine, well more known and a lot more experience in dirt racing, and sometimes the dirt racers can carry that over to these other vehicles, as Cassidy might have been thinking Ken Campbell was going to go on the apron. Didn't happen, and that's that little bit of chess matching on rock, paper, scissors, you could say, when you go through the front stretch.
Yeah, and Ken Campbell really drove it in deep right there. Again, almost making contact with the 4 Mason Cassidy, and I understand it. Like, from a driver's perspective, like when you're working really hard to get by a guy and he seemingly just does not give you a break, you're just like, all right, come on, man. Like, I've run you down. I've gotten, you know, to the favorable spot, and then for him to continue to fight back, I mean, it just gets really frustrating.
I mean, also, I think maybe a little bit of experience. Ken Campbell's been around racing with a majority, or at least seen a lot of these guys racing for a long time, so there's a respect around certain drivers, and others, maybe they feel like they're racing every driver like, hey, I'm trying to earn my own racing stripes, my own respect. And Mason Cassidy, every race, trying to gain a little bit more of that respect from the other drivers of, hey, I can be fast, I can race you hard, but also clean. That's what the 4 is doing at this current moment. Driver that's struggling, who just lost a lot of time, Cody Reed, into the outside wall. Starting to see a lot more drivers struggling with the outside wall here late. And I'm curious on the active drivers maybe learning that they could be slightly more aggressive in the first couple of laps, and they're crossing that line of comfortability to safety for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't take much to overstep. As we look back toward the front here, Sam, Larry Yingling and Douglas Newbinging continuing to go at it here. Larry Yingling leading the race right now, but Douglas Newbinging is going to try the outside line. We haven't really seen him utilize that outside. It's been reverse with Larry Yingling only running that line, and now he's going to do the crossover, Sam, looking anything he can do to try to get that lead.
A little bit of a bait and switch, got the running, got the momentum off the exit turn 2, and Larry thought he was defending it by moving high. Instead, the 7 utilized the momentum. Going to be making his charge onto the inside lane is the 7 of Douglas Newbinging. But for Larry Yingling in the 67, at least he's got a friendly view behind him. It's going to be his teammate, of Ryan Kelly. How will Larry, Yingling, and Kelly want to work with one another? Or could Zach Hall maybe play a little bit of spoiler, as Hall has been in our top 3 for the majority of the night? But what speed does a 32 have? Because he hasn't really shown anything that can compete and beat our top 2.
And sitting here looking at the ticker, Sam, positions 1 through 9 are all playoff drivers, except smack dab in the middle is Isaiah Sutherland. We talked about him tonight. He's made his way up to the 5th position. So all the playoff drivers starting to rise to the top here as the race goes on, and it's a little later stages here, Sam.
Well, and Isaiah Sutherland just gave a huge scare to Zach Hall, a bump and almost lifting the rear tires in the center of 3 and 4, and our leaders trying to go a little bit of 3 wide. Ryan Kelly bouncing it to the wall. He's not close enough to go for that pass, but I mean, we talked about how can non-playoff drivers maybe influence the playoffs. Well, we almost had a moment. Sutherland is being aggressive on that back bumper for Zach Hall for 4th, but our leaders putting on just as good of a show.
Yeah, this has been the Douglas Newbigging and Larry Yingling show so far, Sam. I mean, I feel like we've seen these guys side by side almost all night, and back to their normal grooves now. You see the 7 wrapping that bottom, Larry Yingling running kind of that middle groove, and then the 3 car of Ryan Kelly is running that upper groove, Sam, and he's going to come right to the back bumper of his teammate and try to give him a little assistance to get by the 7 car.
Any little help, if it can be possible. Try to give that draft assistance on the straightaways. Don't give any help to that of Douglas Newbigging, and it just seems like it's a pick and choose where you want to go. As Freaky Fast Racing, that's going to be Freaky Fast Racing driver on, going to be that of Tuesday night. Zach Hall is putting on a show on the outside lane, trying to move forward, but his teammate from Snowy Desert Racing, it's going to be Ben Nelson, Nick Crawford, and they're now getting in the mix. Those 3 teammates trying to figure out how do we tackle and move forward, because they've all fallen out of 5th, 6th, and 7th, as Isaiah Sutherland moves up to 4th.
This is fantastic racing, Sam. I mean, for a mile and a half to this much competition and this many guys who are right in contention to win this thing. I mean, we've seen the 7 and the 67 kind of lead this thing, but I mean, look at this massive group. We talked about like the pack racing kind of further back in the top 10. Now we've got the whole front pack is all under a blanket, seemingly.
Trying to see who can tackle and have the best run here tonight, and every position so crucial, but you can also throw it away in just a blink of an eye. Man, I threw it out there before we went green. Drivers are going to prefer that outside lane at some point to run up there, but you also can cause an incident if you get in that outside wall. You check up everyone that's following you. All these drivers are in some precarious spots, and we're this grouped up with one another, but man, is it fun to watch. Front 2 still side by side, and now Ben Nelson, Nick Crawford, they're trying to utilize a little bit of drafting help to get by Sutherland.
I thought for just a moment there Ryan Kelly was about to take it 3 wide, and I think he thought about it, but then the 67 kind of moved up just a little bit, and he thought better of it. So keep an eye on that 3 car. You know, he's getting kind of that upper line starting to go, and here he goes, Sam, 3 wide.
3 wide, felt the pressure, got the run. Also, Benjamin Nelson trying to put pressure on Isaiah Sutherland. Sutherland going to be bouncing to the inside groove. It's 2 by 2 for our top 4, almost our top 6, as now Ryan Kelly with the pass and the move, the race so far from 3rd to the lead. And the outside lane's working right when we cross the halfway marker. Let's have our 3rd different leader up front.
What a phenomenal move by Ryan Kelly. He's been using that upper lane just a little bit, moving up a little further every lap, and he saw his opportunity, and there he goes, Sam. 3rd to 1st, new leader, Ryan Kelly.
An absolute brilliant pass, but now the question's going to loom for Larry Yingling. He just moved from the lead all the way back to 6th, and for that of Douglas Newbigging, he could be under some heavy pressure because Isaiah Sutherland, Ben Nelson, as well as Nick Crawford, they're showing no signs of slowing down. They want more positions. They want to gain more. There's contact. Douglas Newbigging, Isaiah Sutherland, a little bit of a pinch between our 2nd and 3rd place position, and Ben Nelson has to check up. Lots of momentum for the both of them, and allows Ryan Kelly to pull away just a little bit more.
Oh my goodness, this is getting wild. And here comes Benjamin Nelson, and then Nick Crawford going down to the bottom, throws a huge block on the 13 of Cedric Hunter.
as Hunter trying to get into the mix. How does he work with the Lucky Duck driver of Douglas Newbigging? Sutherland, the only driver not having a teammate in the mix here. Same for Shane Darian. Everyone else, you got 3 different teams of a lot of drivers fighting for every little spot they can. And it's the non-playoff driver that moves up to second place. Ryan Kelly went from a chance of just where was he going to be, could he even make the playoffs? If he gets into victory lane here tonight, he's running for a championship, while everyone else third on back, still stacked on top of one another. Cedric Hunter wants to force it 3 wide, but does he force the same issue that Kelly did on his teammate?
He very much could, but these guys are starting to slide all over the place, Sam. You talk about tire wear and where that's coming in. And the man that it's really hurt, you talked about him, Sam, Larry Yingling has fallen outside the top 10. He's fallen all the way back to the 11th position now, Sam. So you have to wonder, you know, where he was battling so hard for that lead, if that tire wear is really starting to set in now. And man, we haven't seen him this far back tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can work his way back forward at some point.
Tire levels are falling off. We're starting to see even our front runners start to wiggle a little bit more as drivers are noticing we are in that same zone that brought out our first caution. It was 24 laps into a run. Then our second caution came out when we were 30 laps into a run. We're right in between that zone where drivers were starting to get a little bit loose, getting into one another, and a caution flag came out. There's a chance these drivers up front, if they're not careful, one bad slip up could cause the big one up front, and everyone realizing, hey, we got to make these passes. We got to get ourselves clear because there is madness creeping and crawling. We can get that sense that everyone's putting it all on the line to get up front and be as fast as they can.
A little bit of 3 wide action here. Shantarian is going to try to make his way up front. See Zach Hall running that upper groove. Brian P. Johnson running the middle groove. And Shantarian starting to move his way forward now.
You get a run, you got to utilize it, and they are certainly doing so as Shane Darian makes this move. In front of him, Isaiah Sutherland as well as Ben Nelson are side by side for second place, and Sutherland not giving an inch. He is really racing like no one is a playoff driver. He's putting all on the line. It's all about who's going to get the win here tonight. Kelly's loving what's in his mirror because he's not clear. He's not even near any of this madness. But man, are they getting mixy as now we got 3 drivers all up against the wall. It's not Douglas Newbigging, Hunter, Crawford. Gotta be careful with all 3 of those drivers because it could be a little bit of monkey see, monkey do if one of them gets into the wall.
And all 3 in the playoffs, mind you, Sam. But just a flash forward back here to the 79 of Benjamin Nelson. How about this, Sam? He's running 3rd. We talked about him earlier. Didn't seem to show a ton of signs of speed to his standards, I guess you would call it. But here he is, starting to move forward. But man, he's got his hands full trying to get by this 14 by Isaiah Sutherland because this 14's on a mission tonight.
He certainly is, and it seems to be a mission of I want to get up front. Ben Nelson has been attached at the hip as they've been moving forward. Nick Crawford was part of that pairing moving forward as well, but they're starting to space out. Those tires starting to wander, but it doesn't mean that the racing action in the middle of the group hasn't fallen off. 10th places. Oh no! Ken Campbell's at call! Contact with one another! Brian P. Johnson is well caught up in this one! And let the playoff implications shine as the big one we were expecting hits with 29 laps into this run.
Oh man, Sam, and you said playoff implications. A couple of playoff guys getting caught up in this, and it looked like they were running 3 wide from what I could tell, and maybe just a ill-timed move by a driver, and caution strikes.
And drivers are a lot of them scattering, and Larry Yangling almost got clobbered into this mess late, but you see here, drivers are trying to make some big moves going left or right, and Brian P. Johnson just clips Ken Campbell, who then comes back down, clips Zach Hall, and it's just a chain reaction from there as Cassidy lifts up the 28. 31 gets involved with that incident, but flying in late is going to be the 6 as well as going to be the 67. Brad Delph, if he does not crank his wheel to the right, he was going to clobber Larry Yangling, and that could have been even worse for the 3-time champ.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we hate to see something like this happen, I think Larry Yingling is the one that's most happy because he had fallen almost outside the top 15, Sam. He went from racing for the lead to almost outside the top 15. So this is going to be a great opportunity to reset for Larry Yingling. But yeah, Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hall, playoff drivers involved. We'll have to see how bad the damage is.
See, just loses it there. And if we can hop on board with where the 6 is, you can see him coming in late. You see there's Larry, the 6 kind of being a missile, and then yanks it to the right, and just going to miss out and not collecting anyone else. And looks to be just the fact is Zach Hall, Brian B. Johnson involved with this one. And those are two drivers that are outside of our top 6 in points that could not afford this type of incident. They got to hope that their damage repair isn't as bad as some other drivers have been. They can get back into this mix as we take another look at this thing. As we're riding on board the 6, he's coming down and woo, just saves from
that was
getting
a
involved
great
in another wreck.
save. Yeah, it was a great save by him, and I'm looking at the replay. I think Zach Hall's going to be okay, Sam. He got hit pretty hard in the left quarter, and it turned him around, but he just spun and didn't look like he hit anything. I think Brian P. Johnson got the worst of it out of the playoff guys there, so saw Larry Yingling missing the incident right there, but I think everything should be okay for the 32, and we'll see how much damage the 28 has, but wow, we knew something was going to happen. I mean, the racing was absolutely phenomenal, but I don't know how long they could have kept it up for, Sam.
Well, I got a feeling we got a couple of more type of racing action like that to attempt. We might have a couple of more cautions that are looming for us here if that racing kind of ramps up more and more as we're past the halfway marker of tonight's race and everyone's starting to feel it is time to pounce and get up front immediately if you can. As now we got some new front runners to talk about on this restart. First time going to be in the front row. Got Ryan Kelly and as well going to be seeing Benjamin Nelson. Douglas Newbegin is going to be set back to 3rd in line. And Larry Yingling back to 8th place for himself. The 67's got a lot of work if he wants to get up front as Ryan Kelly as well as Benjamin Nelson getting ready for this restart. There is one driver with required damage after that incident. It's going to be the 31 of Kyle Heath, kind of caught up in another incident where he didn't want to get involved, but he's going to get the worst of it. Usually it's the victim that gets the worst of a wreck, and he's going to hope to get that repairs done and get back out on track as soon as possible. But the pace car pulls off. It's time for another restart here tonight. It's the one to go graphics 225 here at Kansas, and we are green. Ryan Kelly, great launch for himself. Benjamin Nelson no longer has to fight for too much on traffic, but can he hold steady up front?
Yeah, Ryan Kelly gets the whole shot right off the restart, gets in that clean air, but it's going to be Douglas Newbegin and Ben Nelson battling for that 2nd place now, Sam, down the backstretch.
Battling for these positions, and Isaiah Sutherland, aggression is going to be the big thing to watch out for the 14 as well as the 79. How are they going to react with one another? And also other drivers to talk about, Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hall, and Cedric Hunter. How are they going to work through this traffic and Ken Campbell to get back up front as we're 3 wide for 2nd place, and it's going to be Douglas Newbegin not wasting any time trying to get by and moving forward, but a slight wiggle is going to give Ben Nelson back that position.
Yeah, another example of showing the 3 different lines. Ben Nelson went all the way to the top. Now he goes to the bottom, and Benjamin Nelson all of a sudden is coming to the conversation, starting to heat up the back bumper of the 3 car. He wants the lead.
Just had to get into his motion, get into a confident zone, and he'll find himself moving forward quickly. As Benjamin Nelson, the most winning driver this season, trying to grab his 4th win, but not going to happen. Caution flag in the middle of the field, and it looks to be trouble. Striking for the 25 of James Kaufman as they were getting very close to one another. We're going to have to confirm who exactly brought out this yellow flag, but there was some drivers getting antsy up front with how they wanted to tackle this race.
We talk about it all the time, Sam. Cautions, precautions, and I think we're starting to get the answer to our previous question about what kind of trends this race was going to take on. Is this is going to be our 4th caution of the night now. It's
actually going to be the 6th. I got the red cars mixed up there.
Oh,
it's going to be Brad Delph, who's going to be the driver involved with this one. And a mess that we haven't seen in a while, I would say. It's the wreck that brought out majority of our first 5 races. It's a contact, front bumper to rear bumper, just lifting someone off of their rear tires and spinning them out. Brad Delph gets spun around. Somehow, it didn't collect anyone else, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's good that it wasn't as big as it could have been, Sam, but I'm interested. I don't think we'll see many takers here on pit road. We only got about less than 5 laps of green flag racing there, so looking for most to stay out probably.
Yeah, I'm expecting that as well. Into the garage area, going to be Kyle Heath calling it a night. He'll be joining with Aaron Krolick and Ross Tatum, leaving us with a total of 27 drivers still out there on track. Only driver to come into pit road going to be the 6 of Brad Delph to get service done for being involved with this wreck. Well, 4 cautions in the book, and we were curious, Josh, on if this race was going to follow in the trends of how this season was going, where we've had ourselves a total of 4.5-mile tracks, and most of them we've only had 1 caution, being the competition caution, or just 1 wreck that would come out, and then the rest of the race would be good. Atlanta brought out the most because there was a lot of wheel spin, and incidents happens with drivers running into one another, where we had 5 cautions that race. Tonight we're at 4, and if we look at past races in the season, back in season 3, we had 7 cautions. Season 5, we had 8. Seems like we're going with the trends of how this race has gone with the past instead of how this season's been going.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think 7 is probably a really realistic number at this point, Sam. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the intensity that the playoffs brings out in all these guys. And I mean, you have to perform. There's no hiding from it. There's no having a bad night and being okay next week. I mean, you cannot put yourself in a hole with these 2 race series essentially to advance to the next round. And we see it, all these playoff guys battling up front, and just how how much you don't want to get behind the 8 ball with Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson having that incident. They're going to be fighting hard to work their way through the field. And then all these guys up front, Sam, let's not forget, if you win tonight, you automatically punch your ticket to the finals. So a lot up for grabs for these guys tonight.
Yeah, those drivers that you see on our ticker that are scrolling through, those that are in red are the 10 drivers that are still running for a championship and are inside of a round of 10 after tonight's race and next week's race. We'll calculate the numbers. Whoever has the most points of our top 6 of those 10, they'll move on to our championship round, except for if you win the race here tonight. If you are one of those drivers, you win, you are automatically book your ticket to the championship round. We'll have 2 races to run for your Trophy Smack championship, which this is the first season they're getting an actual championship. The past 3 seasons with Trophy Smack, it's been a ring where our past 2 champions, Vincent Soar won the first 2 rings for season 4 and 5. Larry Yingling grabbed his 3rd total championship and got his own ring from Trophy Smack. And if you'd like to go check out different championship belts, rings, trophies, and more, remember to go head over to TrophySmack.com. We'll talk about them more after this, because it's time to go back to green flag action for the One to Go Graphics 225 here at Kansas. Okay, Ryan Kelly, also Benjamin Nelson is taking off, and it's really a great launch going to be for Ryan Kelly, but Shane Terry in the 9 got an even better one. He thought about 3 wide for a quick second. Instead, he'll fall in line. It's 2 by 2 for everyone through.
He thought about it, Sammy. He poked his nose, and he's going to poke his nose out again. Going down the bad stretch here, he's going to try to make it 3 wide. 14 moves up, but he's going to drive it deep in the corner. Almost makes contact with the 14 there, Sam. I thought for sure that he was going to run right on the side of the 14.
I would not be surprised if, oh boy, Benjamin Nelson ducking it down low all the way to the apron. That's a little bit spooky, and Shane Terrian looks to be just trying to put the 14 in the wall. He wants to get this non-playoff driver out of the way, because Isaiah Sutherland has not been making friends moving through the field. He's just been pinching each and every driver, and that's a good way to make enemies, especially if you're a non-playoff driver and you're surrounded by those that have everything to lose.
Yeah, gloves are off at this point, Sam. We got 55 laps to go. We're almost in the final third of this race, and Shane Terrian said it's time to go. And just like you said, the 14 car, he's been doing his thing, racing really hard tonight, but I think the patience meter ran out there.
And look behind them, 3 wide action, going to be for 5th place, and it's going to be the 77 of Brian Noel, getting very loose for himself with that of Douglas Newbegin, trapped with Larry Yingling, the 2 drivers that dominated the first half of the race. They're stuck in traffic, and they're trying to find their way forward, and Douglas has got to be careful, hoping that his teammate doesn't make contact with him, as they've been looking shaky side by side with one another.
Yeah, we have not seen these guys this far back all night, Sam, to your point. And they're sitting right behind the 14 and the 9, banging doors down the front stretch. I mean, That's got to not be a comfortable spot for those guys.
Absolutely not. And other drivers, we got to give huge kudos and shout outs to Brandon Colley has just finally crossed over to the top half of the field. The one who was caught up in a wreck to start out this race is now in 13th position. What a recovery for Brandon Colley to get back into the mix for himself. But the battle for the lead about to get heated up. Ryan Kelly, Benjamin Nelson getting mixy as everyone else in the field, they're getting a little bit nervous themselves.
Yeah, Benjamin Nelson and Ryan Kelly, they just want to try to run away from this madness that's behind them. But Benjamin Nelson, first time tonight, we've really seen him start to put some pressure on the 3-car, Sam. That 79 Mountain Dew car, it's going to close right up to the bumper. The 3-car down the front stretch here, he's going to try to take a peek for the lead.
Playoffs has been shaky for the 79. Started off with a second place finish, but then got 11th, and then at the last race in the regular season got 16th. He's been bouncing back and forth for the 79 the last couple of weeks, has been trying to find more consistency like he did earlier on, but caution flag's gonna wave, and it's the 08 of Brian with an I Johnson, and he's gonna be caught up with a spin after being hit by Danny Cochran in the 2, and you hate to see that for the 08, who just got news under our last caution that sadly for Brian, had to put down his dog Coco. We're sorry for your loss, and man, I hate to see, he was having a good run. He was running around 19th before these last couple of yellows came out. There was speed. He's got to hope that he can get this damage repaired.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian with an I Johnson, looks like he just got a little contact from Danny Cochran there. And, ooh, pretty hard contact in the wall right there, Sam. So we'll have to keep an eye and see if he can get that fixed up tonight. But, yeah, definitely racing with the heavy heart. It's never fun losing a pet. It's like a family member for most people. So hopefully he can get this thing fixed up and get back out there.
We're open for it. Require damage for the 08 as they'll pull into pit road. But Ryan Kelly, Benjamin Nelson, they're looking fast up front. But again, we talked about how we needed to shout out our sponsors again as we're at the lap 100 mark. We'll give a huge thank you to Roasted Gems Coffee being the title sponsor for the WSSR for another season. It's been a fantastic to have this crew with us, and they've got great coffee for you to check out. A wide range of blends that you can find from anything from mix of different flavors that will fit your fancy, or you can look for their extra caffeinated flavor that can wake you up and make sure you're ready for the day and to start your day off the right way. If you go to roastedgems.com, use promo code WSSR for 5% off. We kind of brought up, also, Josh, on the fact of fantasy football. People like to get trophies for their fantasy football leagues. Well, iRacing leagues as well are looking for trophies. And if you're looking for a trophy for yourself, Trophy Smack is your one-stop destination that you need to find. They've got themselves a wide range of selections from that of championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. And you might be wondering, well, what's that more? It's called a wall smack. Wall smack is a metal plate that you put a custom image on. It's up to you to decide what you want that image to be. Some of the drivers, when they've won this season or past seasons, they've actually gotten a wall smack of their winning vehicle. And what's great about the wall smack is that it comes with their wall safety mounted system that allows you to put your wall smack on the wall with the magnet, and it can be moved just as safely. And what's even greater is that they've loved this product so much, they've even made a stand recently that allows you to even put it just on your desk or somewhere else that you'd like to place. Remember to use the promo code WSSR SMACK for 10% off at Trophy Smack. And Josh, I gotta say, it's really one of those things where you'll love to see these drivers get these sponsors, and if you'd like to help the drivers out even more, well, sharing our stream helps the drivers. Also liking, commenting, letting the drivers be notified, that is the best way to help the drivers out, because the more eyes that watch our broadcast shows to the leagues and sponsors, hey, we should check out this league. So remember to hit the subscribe button for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Like, subscribe, share, and we cannot wait to see you on our next Freaky Fast broadcast. And Josh, for the field, we're in the final third. We've seen the calamity, we've seen the chaos. The question is, will we have one more caution after this, or could we see a couple of more?
Oh, I think we're. I had said 7 earlier, and I'm sticking to my gun, Sam. I think 7 minimum is what we could see tonight. But one thing we got to highlight, Sam, we had a little bit of a mixed bag there coming to pit road there. Shane Tyrion peeled off, and he brought about half the field with him to pit road there. These guys got about 15 laps on their tires now, so Shane Tyrion going to be restarting 14th place, first driver on 4 fresh tires. And he's got Nick Crawford, another playoff driver with them, and then some other guys like Cole Sacchetti, Ali Fonseca, and Zach Hall, another one of those playoff drivers that came and took 4 fresh tires. So gonna be interesting to see if those tires are gonna pay off and they can make their way to the front.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen this at all here tonight. It's been a whole pack coming in as a whole, and no one really doing a split bag just yet on when you want to come to pit road. We'll see how well this trend is going to work out. Again, like you said, watch out for the drivers. Shane Terrian, Nick Crawford, they're back in 14th and 15th. Are the tires a big drop off? Are they massive enough? It's going to be a 15-lap difference, and that was around the time that we saw the change up, so I'm expecting to see those drivers in the back. The question is, what lane is going to be the fastest one to go? Will they just stick to the white line? Will they bounce the outside? This is going to be probably the craziest restart of the night. So get your popcorn ready. We're about to take off and go as we've had ourselves 5 cautions here tonight. It's been around 20 to 30 laps into a run. We start to see another caution balloon out. So we've got a chance for at least 1 to 2 more. And if we get a second one late in this race, we do have overtime, 3 attempts if needed. As this is the first race of the round of 10, thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Joshua Altus, as well as Rock Moore Junior Ryan Productions in the background. Huge shout out to Race Control, who's been helping on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights, being Steve Benjamin, for everything you do to allow these drivers to race without worrying about penalties. As the base car pulls off, it's the 1 to go graphics, 225, back into the restart zone. Here we go. It's Ryan Kelly, Benjamin Nelson, prepared and taking off. On we go as they roar down into turn number 1.
And Isaiah Sutherland continuing his aggressive driving, Sam. He's fighting really hard for second right now. So there he is on the bottom, wrapping that bottom line, and he's going to slide up right in front of Benjamin Nelson on the back stretch. He takes that second position.
Maybe you forgot which driver was in the black and green, because that aggression looked like he was racing Shane Terrian for a quick second. Instead, Benjamin Nelson will slot into 4th. Isaiah Sutherland will move up to that middle groove, and here comes Douglas Newbigging. He fell back deeper in the field, but that 7 cannot give up on wanting to win here tonight. He wants to go back-to-back, lock himself into that championship round. But so many others, if you're a driver in red, you get into victory lane, you're locked into the next round. You don't have to worry about Richmond next week and the chaos at a short track. As other drivers are just trying to make their march into our top 10. Cody Reed's there, also seeing that of Brandon Colley, a mixed bag, but here's the drivers with fresh tires. Nick Crawford in the middle. Where does he go? Because he looks trapped as they're 3 wide, 2 rows deep, about to be 4 wide back here, battling for that 12th position.
Shane Terrian almost turned himself there, Sam. He looked like he went to make a pretty quick move to the outside.
They're
but
4 wide for a quick second, as they're going to be 3 wide, 2 rows deep. As Cole Sacchetti into the outside wall, he'll stay there, letting the drivers continue to race down. As now Christopher Norris, as well as having Shane Terrian, watch out for the 38 and the 24. They've had their bickers and their squabbles in multiple leagues. Will they make contact now as Shane Terrian moves forward? The fresh tires, though, surprisingly, haven't been moving forward as quickly as we thought, but it's Shane Terrian leading that group.
Yeah, not yet, Sam, but I think the fresh tires are going to start prevailing here as he can slice and dice his way through the pack. He's up to 11th now, so Shane Terrian's starting to go on attack mode, but these guys are racing really hard behind him. Nick Crawford in the middle of the chaos.
As well, Ali Fonseca going to be the second driver in line. They finally are able to find some spacing to work with, and it's a different mentality with the drivers that got fresh tires. Some are thinking about making these big moves now and immediately. Others are thinking about, I'm going to protect my tires. Yes, they're better than those that are around me, but I want to save this rubber for later on in this race, as tire wear is going to be a big factor moving forward. The harder you push on these tires, the less grip you have and the bigger chance of a big wreck, like we almost saw there. Christopher Norris, Chris Stitz, a little bit of contact going on back for 15.
And based off how these drivers are racing right now, Sam, I don't think we're going to have to worry about this, but let's throw one more variable into the equation. The guys that pitted on lap 100, they're probably going to be just outside the fuel window as well, so something to keep an eye on if we happen to stay green.
And that means if you're one of the drivers running in second, third in line, and you stay with the pack after getting by all these drivers on older tires, you could be in a sweet spot of saving rubber. Ali Fonseca, what a dive by the 24, not wanting to get below the 74. And Nick Crawford just has to watch in his mirror with that dashing move.
This is some of the most entertaining racing that I've seen in a long time, Sam. These guys are taking no prisoners tonight. They are fighting tooth and nail for every single spot. Christopher Norris just got on the outside of the 24 and seemingly it was a little squeeze there.
You just know, with the way that we've been seeing all of Fonseca and Christopher Norris running around one another, I don't think their little bickering is done just yet. They want to stay away from one another, but they just naturally have a magnet. As Cody Reed, old tires, just trying to hold the middle of the lane, let everyone drive around, be predictable. If you're these drivers with old rubber, either are going to be highly defensive or you just run a lane and hope everyone can get around you cleanly, and it looks like that is the case as drivers just survive at this point. It is so crucial with us being this late in the race. Any slight mistake, you get heavy damage, you will not be able to really rebound from this far back. You got to stay perfect, you got to keep your car clean, and that's what these drivers up front are doing. As Christopher Norris, Ollie Fonseca not giving each other any space. Norris puts the pressure on the inside, trying to utilize Joshua Kanata as a pick. Instead, Kanata gonna be helping both lanes, trying to defend the best that he can. The driver that's on the move still, we're talking about him being the first driver to move forward. Shane Terrian's already up to 4th and aiming for the lead.
Yeah, we're just about 10 to 12 laps into this run, Sam, and you're really starting to see where these new tires are starting to move forward. Shane Terrian working that outer lane. I don't think it's going to be long, Sam. I think we're going to see this number 9 car leading this race.
Shane Terrian, fastest driver during practice, missed out on the pole, but the 9 knows how to have speed on the short run. The difficulty has been the long run. When we get 20 laps into a race, you know, it's usually when we start to see Shane Terrian's car kind of fade away. The tires don't have the same grip that he once had before, and it could be a contributing factor to him running a controller and that aspect being so hard to predict and save on your rubber. It's a lot easier to be aggressive when you've got grip all around. As the 9 takes the lead, he's hoping that no one else will start to catch him, but that next driver in line with fresh rubber going to be 5th place runner of Nick Crawford in the 74.
Yeah, it sure is, and we talked about the two kind of different strategies of the guys on fresh tires. Shane Terrian going more in attack mode right off the bat. Nick Crawford's been a little calmer, I would say, picking his way through the traffic, but just like that, here he is making the pass for 3rd. Now he's going to hop to the bottom, dives it down into 3 and 4, and he's going to slide his way to 2nd place now.
And again, that choice of being a little bit slower, predictable, saving your tires, is this going to be rewarded to Nick Crawford, or will we see a yellow come out? Because the rest of the field, their rubber has finally gone through that heat cycle. It's back to where it was before the yellow flag came out. And a lot of the field that did not come to pit road, they have 30-lap old tires. They are in that zone of, they've been out of control at times. Can they hold on? As you see the pack of drivers, this is from 1st all the way down to 19th. It's all clustered up. It's a dangerous place to be right now, as Ollie Fonseca, as well as that of Christopher Norris. They are on fresh rubber, and they are just not making it easy on one another, nor the field staying side by side trying to make these passes.
And you can see him 3 wide once again, Sam. It looks like Benjamin Nelson made the wise decision to back out there, but Ollie Fonseca really putting it.
Puts the nose where it shouldn't be, and the slight contact going to be hurting both drivers. Christopher Norris going to fall back to 11th. Ollie Fonseca able to keep it straight. Somehow, they don't cause calamity, but certainly a scare, a heart-dropping moment, and we continue to stay green for the field up front. They know any type of incident could change up this race. Those that came into pit road under our last yellow, they used their 4th set of tires. They've only got 1 more set left for the rest of this race. When the caution flag comes out now, a crucial time of, do we utilize that last set, or do we save it for the potential wreck later on?
Yeah, it's golly. I'm just trying to catch my breath from the moves the 24 was making there, Sam. I thought for sure we were going to see a caution, but somehow everyone manages to keep it straight, and we continue to race on.
And we continue to race on, but one driver that is really in the hornet's nest of trouble, that is going to be gifted to Benjamin Nelson. But we got to keep our sights up front, even though this racing in the back is interesting and chaotic. But the battle for the lead, Crawford being patient and protecting those tires. It's enabled the 74 to now be in this spot to dive it down low. Nick Crawford, came into tonight's race last in points. He was tied for last in points. He has a chance to try to take the lead right now.
Here he is. Sammy's going to dive to the bottom, but Shane Terrian aggressive on the block. He's going to beat Nick Crawford down to the apron there, and he's going to continue to hold on to that lead. But you talked about it, Sam. Shane Terrian, hasn't been necessarily known for the long run speed, so going to be interesting to see if Nick Crawford is going to be able to get around him on this long run.
How do you move going forward from here? Slight back off after that block. Not able to utilize the speed as well as he wanted. but we'll see how well they can attack, or will they even have a second chance? Because that Hornet's Nest that we kind of moved away from, they're getting even still chaotic because they've got lap traffic that's in the way, and drivers now have to think about pit stops as Brian Noel has came into pit road. Other drivers going to be thinking about that because drivers that did not pit under the last yellow, they're going to be forced into pit road in the next 10 to 12 laps if we continue to stay green.
Yeah, and that's something we got to keep an eye on, Sam. I mean, who knows if this is going to stay green or not, but just like that, we only have 30 laps to go here. So, I mean, anyone who pits can make it on fuel here, and if it does stay green, I mean, is the undercut going to be the strategy here? But that's a huge risk if you do come in, because if we get that caution, you're more than likely going to be trapped a lap down. So what do you do here, Sam? Do you take the risk and go for the undercut, or are you going to just ride it out?
I mean, if you pitted under the last yellow, you're staying out. You are running until that fuel is completely empty. If you are one of those drivers that didn't pit, the undercut, like I said, could be the best strategy to go for, because you also got to be thinking about, okay, there's a chance for a yellow, yes. So staying out could protect me from going a lap down and being off of the wrong strategy. But if I pit and those drivers can't make it under that last yellow that came into pit road, then I could be the stealer of the show. But there's the caution that was needed. Oh no, and it's the driver that pitted that's going to be caught up in this one. It's Brian Noel, and the innocent victim of John Forbes somehow evaded and almost got caught up in another mess.
Well, that's going to bring everyone back right where we need to be. And what a call by the guys that pitted earlier, Sam. Like Shane Terry and Nick Crawford, you know, Ollie Fonseca, those guys that move forward, they're going to have the track position now. So, you know, if I'm one of those guys, it's probably time to go ahead and use that last set, and we're going to set up a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to. If you don't, you're going to be even worse off than the drivers that were competing before on their tire differential. So Shane Terry and Nick Crawford, they're in a tricky spot. Again, what happened was Brian Noel spun out and found himself self-spinning after getting fresh rubber. He was trying to maximize his speed and finds himself bringing out the caution, and that of John Forbes luckily able to evade and not be caught up in the mess. As drivers get prepared, the decision time, pit road or not, as it looks like our leader's showing signs. Everyone needs to come into pit road.
Yep, feeding time on pit road, Sam. Be interesting to see if anyone tries any kind of strategy, but more than likely with how this racetrack has chewed up the tires tonight, I think you're going to see 4 in fuel for everybody.
4 tires in fuel for the field. And as they're all coming into pit road, we'll do our last call for the sponsors so we can focus on the last 25 laps of this race. It's going to be chaotic. But a huge thank you to our title sponsor of Roasted Gems Coffee for being with the WSSR the last couple of seasons. It's been a pleasure to have them as the title sponsor. If you'd like to go check out, you know, we talked about how they've got different flavors and, you know, flavors to try out, as well as they've got a merch line that you can go check out as well. Remember to use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. Trophy Smack. Get your custom trophies now. If you're looking for a fantasy football trophy, if you're looking for a sim racing trophy, if you're just looking for a trophy in general for any type of sports, it doesn't have to be just, you know, online or just for football. If you're looking for a trophy for any event, well, go to TrophySmack.com and remember to use the promo code WSSRSmack for 10% off. They got anything from championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Check them out today. As the field releases and are all out on track, the driver that won out of pit road going to be Nick Crawford, Ryan Kelly, Shane Terry, and Ollie Fonseca. Isaiah Sutherland going to be your top 5. Nobody taking 2 tires. It's all 4 tires and fuel. Josh, this is the final sprint. For some of these drivers, they just finally took their last set of tires. There's about half the field that still has an extra set. What do you think the mentality is now? Is that this is the last time you come into pit road? Or could you see maybe a trend sometime later on that some drivers may think about making a stop?
Well, I mean, I guess it just really depends when and if the next caution comes out, Sam. I mean, the guys that obviously took their last set there, I mean, that's it. I mean, you're out on the track now. You've made your bed. But the guys that have 1 set remaining, I mean, it just depends how long we go here. 10 laps, I don't know. 15 laps, that's where we saw the difference on the guys that pitted the first time, and we saw how much of a difference that made. So if I'm out there, that's kind of my number is if we run about 15 laps. I'm probably going to come in and get those fresh tires and see if I can do one last push in that last 10 lap shootout.
Well, it is time for this field to make the decision. Where and how do you want to attack moving forward? This is going to be a critical time on how the drivers are going to attack this little bit of a sprint to the end, you could say. We've seen the tire fall off. It's usually around 15 to 20 laps into a run. If you've been protecting your tires, you're usually able to take off and fight. We're going to have a 25 lap, it's going to be a 24 lap run. So if you protect your tires, you might have a good spot for about 6 laps to be able to push and be aggressive. But Josh, this is the difficult portion. There's going to be so many drivers being aggressive immediately that even if you protect your tires, there might not be enough time to take all those positions back.
Yeah, I don't think you've got any time to protect tires at this point, Sam. I think you got to go, and you got to go. You got to hope you can get your crap position. If you're on this front row, you want to get out in clean air and lead this race and control it. I don't think we're done seeing cautions. It just depends, I think, when they're going to fall at this point. But a couple guys I think we need to keep an eye on, Sam. The 24 of Ali Fonseca, the 14 of Isaiah Sutherland, the 38 of Christopher Norris. All these guys are not playoff drivers. They have nothing to lose, and all three are very aggressive drivers. So, could be some trouble brewing around that area.
And for speaking about brewing, Shane Terry and Isaiah Sutherland, they just had their bickering just 2 cautions ago. Will they see something mount up here? Pace car into pit road, into the restart zone. The 1 to go graphics 225 is back underway. 24 laps to go, and Nick Crawford's got the lead. It's side by side for second place. Shane Terry and Ryan Kelly as they dive down into turn number 1.
There they go. The battle is for second right now, and Ryan Kelly's going to utilize that high side that he's been using all night. Shane Tier's going to drive it in deep, and then we got battling all out throughout the pack behind them.
They're going to be scattering on where they can go, and right now it's going to be seen how can Ollie move forward as quickly as he can as the 24 outside lane just trying to survive as Zach Hall just got able to get a good run for himself. He was in the back half of the field and spun around as himself and Brandon Colley gets caught up in a mess. Zach Hall, once again, he continues to be caught up in messes here tonight, but up front, it's all Nick Crawford, Ryan Kelly, as well as Shane Terrian trying to battle with one another.
Oh, and that could be absolutely detrimental for Zach Hall tonight if he ends up, finishing way back there in the pack. He's going to have a tall task ahead of him next week, but this race isn't over yet, Sam. We got just over 20 laps to go, and anything could still happen.
It really could. As an update on what happened with that incident, it looked like there was a little bit of quote-unquote wind action that happened to Colley. He got on to Cody Reed's front back bumper that got the one spun around, and Zach Hall had nowhere to go. So the 32 is going to be back in 23rd position. He might be in a big hole going into Richmond next week. But up front, it is our top 5 all running for so many different mentalities and sessions. You got Shane Terrian, who's trying to get by Isaiah Sutherland. Sutherland, a non-playoff driver, but those two have been having and been building up a rivalry between one another. Cedric Hunter comes in tonight, just a 1 point over Joshua Kanata, trying to get every point possible, having a good bumper going into next week. Nick Crawford was tied with last in points, and he finds himself leading this race. For Ryan Kelly, probably the most interesting one of them all in second position. He almost missed out on making the playoffs. If he gets into victory lane, he's locked into the championship.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to the 13 of Cedric Hunter. I mean, we haven't really seen him run up here toward the top 5. I mean, he kind of hung around the top 15, kind of right outside the top 10 for the majority of this race, but he's done a great job and has worked his way forward, and, he's poised to have a really great finish tonight, Sam.
As the 13 trying to make his way forward in 5th place. He's got to be careful, though, because there's a fast driver behind. That's going to be the 79 of Benjamin Nelson. Showing strength. Just got by Ollie Fonseca in the field. They're strung out now, but just give them about 7 more laps, and this strung out single file racing is about to be side by side. They're already trying to go side by side now. as Nick Crawford leads this race. He is staying down low. He's protecting his tires. Ryan Kelly as well as Isaiah Sutherland, they're being aggressive on the outside lane, and now a battle for the lead. Kelly bounces to the inside groove as the middle portion also getting a little mixy there of Nelson as well as New Bigging and Fonseca, but Ryan Kelly recognizing he needs to take this lead quickly and don't allow the 14 to take the lead.
Yeah, he's trying to make quick work of them, but we haven't really seen the 3-car run the bottom a lot tonight, Sam. So, a little bit of unfamiliarity maybe with the line that he's been running all night. And it looks like Nick Crawford got in the wall.
Crawford brushing the wall, almost coming down into 3. That's a little bit of a checkup, and that's going to be hurting the 74 the most. Crawford trying to stay off the wall again. He runs it, trying to find that extra speed. Isaiah Sutherland with a slight pinch and almost contacting Nick Crawford. As Crawford has a massive run on Kelly. Let's go 3 wide for the lead for a quick moment. Kelly defends, pushes 74 back. They're going to be side by side for the lead. Isaiah Sutherland, what a charge by the non-playoff driver, but it's bringing everyone else back into the mix. And how much of that little brush did Nick Crawford collect, or can he continue to run with that same speed he had before?
I think he's going to be okay, Sam. This car's durable enough, but oh my goodness, Ryan Kelly back to the top where he's been, he's made up the most time tonight, and now he's starting to pull Nick Crawford back with him on the outside.
He's pulling him back. And the 14, 74, they continue to put down fast laps and hoping for the best, but it's the Hello Kitty machine of Cedric Hunter trying to be the thief. He might be the easiest one to spot out on track, but sometimes he can just sneak up on you in 4th place. Looking at how these top 3 are going to race with one another. Sutherland's just been so aggressive up front. I just don't know how the 14 is going to react here once we get later and later into the run, because as this lap clicks down, we've got ourselves just 15 laps to go here tonight.
Crawford and Sutherland are just throwing haymakers at each other right now, Sam. I mean, they are throwing slide jobs at each other. They're flipping, flopping on inside, outside line, and the 14's going to get the better of them. But, man, wouldn't it be a story if Isaiah Sutherland came in here and stole this race tonight, Sam?
I mean, when he joined back at the beginning of the season, and it was just a shock on how fast Sutherland was being. He was someone that was a threat. It felt like week in and week out ever since he joined. And here tonight, on his 11th race, he's only had 1 top 5 this season, and that was all the way back at Atlanta, his first race when he showed up. But he's had 5 top 10s, and he's aiming for his first win this season.
Well, let's not forget, Sam, the very first race of the playoffs at Talladega, we had a non-playoff driver win that race. So could we see, we talk about trends, could we see a non-playoff driver take race 1 of round 2?
Speaking of that driver that won that race, Cody Reed gets in the wall further on back. There's still a hard-nosed hornet's nest for everyone from 12th on back on how they're trying to race. Our top around 8 drivers, are still pretty close to one another. They're about 1.2 seconds off. They're still in touching distance. But as these laps creep down closer and closer, we're about 3 laps away from that change, the swing. Who was defending and protecting? Who was being aggressive? And I think for Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Sutherland, they could be sitting ducks here with these last 10 laps to go if they just push their car a little bit too far.
It's a possibility, and another driver we talked about, Cedric Hunter, now has made his way up to the 3rd position, Sam. So the 13 Hello Kitty car, he's got that thing in the wind, and now they're coming up on some lap traffic here, and Brian with an I. Johnson.
Brian with an I. Johnson finally able to get those repairs done and back out on track. He'll stay high and let everyone drive on by. That's what he's been doing, and it's the sportsmanship from the 08 has been impeccable this season, trying to make sure he's not involved with any incidences. We love seeing drivers that are able to make it out on track and race every single week, and it's been a pleasure to have Brian with an eye out there on track. Up front, it's still Ryan Kelly, bounces it to the outside lane, trying to put slightly dirty air, but that dirty air isn't as big of a factor as previous vehicles that we covered here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's a lot more of what have you done to your vehicle. Have you personally destroyed your tires to where you don't have a chance to race up front? And right now it looks to be Ryan Kelly has found a good blend, but Isaiah Sutherland bringing back the fight. We're now down to just 10 laps to go here tonight, and caution flag waves. It's Cody Reed. Chris Stitz caught up in a mess, and it was that gaggle of cars bringing out the incident.
Oh man, Sam, and here we go. It's decision time. Those drivers that have 1 set of tires left, do you go ahead and put them on here and try to make a late charge? I think you do.
I mean, the thing is, is it seems like it takes about 3 laps before you can really utilize that fresh rubber. And here's what the incident was. Stits into the wall. And talked about monkey see, monkey do. Well, Cody Reed just had no space to get out of the way. Runs into 17, trying to save the vehicle, but at this point, it's so sideways. Once he touched that apron, it was done and dusted. And at this point, you're just trying not to collect more drivers and revs up the throttle, staying off the wall, but bringing out the yellow.
Yeah, unfortunate night for those guys, and now we're starting to see the action, Sam. Who's going to come to pit road? Who doesn't? Looks like we got only a couple takers, about 4 or 5, couple 5, 6 maybe takers on pit road, Sam. So not as much as I would have maybe thought.
And it's led by Benjamin Nelson. Larry Yangling and as well going to be following in suit. And those are 2 fast drivers that know how to get into victory lane. Larry Yangling, one of the top drivers in the WSSR, 3 championships. Benjamin Nelson used to be a driver in the Peak Antifreeze series that is now transformed in the eNASCAR series. And Nelson knows how to get into victory lane. He's done it 3 times this season. Can he get it done again here tonight, or at least see someone else? Ryan Kelly, I mean, what a show that this 3 has been putting on up front. But I just got a feeling those that just came into pit road, they are all the way back in 15th position. That's a lot of track time that you've got to be making passes, and we're only going to have around 5 to 6 laps still to go until this race is over. We still have overtime, but man, it just seems like they're just too far back to make this work.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, Sam, for sure. I think their best bet is to make as much time as possible and then possibly get another caution, maybe go into overtime and be able to start a little closer toward the front. But either way, I love the call because, you know, those guys back there, they weren't going to win the race from back there, Sam. And I know we talk about points racing, but I mean, I personally always like to be on attack at the end. I don't like playing defense. I hate looking out my mirror. So, you know, give me 4 fresh tires, let me go on attack, and let me see what I can get.
And with the drivers that decided not to come to pit road, that still had a set to work with, our top 3, Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Sutherland, Cedric Hunter, they still had another set to work with. Douglas Newbigging in 6th had a set in pit road. Same with 12th place runner, Brian with a Y. Johnson, he still had a set. So that's a grouping of drivers that could have helped, you know, Benjamin Nelson maybe to gain a couple of more spots. Instead, 79 is going to be mired back in 15th. A lot of work that has to be done, but it's Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Sutherland, Cedric Hunter. Again, the drivers that are in red are in our playoffs. There were 10 drivers that entered here tonight to start the second round. Our first round started with 16 drivers. We cut it down to just 10 to start this round off, and this has been a up and down roller coaster for some of those playoff drivers. Zach Hall probably getting the worst of it for the 32, back in 22nd position. But Joshua Kanata really hasn't had the speed to compete up front. He's just hoping for more drivers that are in the playoffs to continue to struggle. Larry Yingling, Benjamin Nelson going with some awkward positionings for themselves on how this race is going. Now coming into pit road, hoping they can gain some positions back. But everyone else that's been inside of our top 8, I mean, this has been incredible racing. There's been some slight contact here or there, but man, have they put on a show.
Oh, it's been one heck of a show, Sam. I mean, I think back to just all the different lanes and grooves that everyone was driving, and then, you know, most recently just the pack racing. That was for our lead. It was pretty much the top 10 that you could just throw a blanket over at one point, and your guess is as good as mine as to who's going to win this race, because we've had about 10 different guys cycle to the front and be competitive tonight.
Well, for those that came into pit road, they're loving the fact that we're going green this go around. It's going to be 6 laps to go. If we had a caution with 5 or less laps and a yellow flag comes out for the white flag, we will head into overtime. Otherwise, our front runners, they are aiming to see the white flag. Once that flag comes out, this race becomes official, and it's all about who crosses the line first. Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Sutherland, they see the pace car pull off. We head into the restart zone. It's the 1 to go graphics, 2:25 at Kansas, and we're back underway. The 3 one of his weaker launches, but able to keep himself ahead. Others trying to find an opening as we roar down into turn number 1.
And right off the bat, I see Benjamin Nelson. He's going to jump down and make it 3 wide, Sam, so he's going to start utilizing those fresh tires. But it's Ryan Kelly that gets away, but here comes Isaiah Sutherland in the 14, the non-playoff driver. He's going to go to the inside of Ryan Kelly.
Going to the inside, trying to be a non-playoff driver, take away that win in your in scenario. Instead, it's going to be Ryan Kelly working that outside groove. They're going to be 3 wide, almost 4 wide. They're almost 5 wide in the mix, and you can just see the gaggle of cars around 15th place. They are surging on fresh rubber on who can move forward. Benjamin Nelson's already up to 8th place with 5 laps to go. Nelson is flying, as well as Larry Yingling. The tires look like if we stay green, they'll make it work here.
They are flying right now, Sam. You said it. He's up to 7th place now, 6th place, as we're banging for the lead now. The 3 and the 14, and then we got Shane Tyrion in the 9 and Cedric Hunter all right there. And here he is, Benjamin Nelson, up to 5th place.
It just took him 2 laps, and we're fighting and bickering for second. It could be even worse than that. Nelson's trying to find an opening on where to place that 79 machine. He'll stay in the middle groove, bounce it to the 3rd. He'll make it 3 wide for a quick second, almost 4 wide. Larry Yangling's going to force it down in the bottom. We're 3 wide for a quick second. Nelson has to block the 67. Will do so. Kelly able to hold the lead for now, but the 2 drivers on the inside, fresh rubber, it's the dominance, it's the speed, it's the 2 top drivers when it came into the season, leading the way, and now it's the duel between the 79 and the 67. Will it be Nelson, the newcomer, who's been the most dominant driver of the season, or will it be the 3-time champ, winning and going for a chance to run for a championship? There they go, flying away already, 2 tenths, almost a full second ahead of 3rd place.
Absolutely unbelievable, Sam. It only took these guys 3 laps to go from outside the top 15 to 1 and 2, and it looks like Benjamin Nelson's going to have the advantage, but Larry Yingling right in his tire turns, and Cedric Hunter gets into the wall a little further back.
That grouping of drivers that are on old rubber, they're in trouble. They are being swamped and swarmed, and they are going back quickly. 2 laps to go. And if you're Benjamin Nelson, Larry Yingling, you're hoping that we get to the white flag, because once that white flag comes out, no caution will send us into overtime. But this little grouping's got to be careful. Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Sutherland's going to be putting the pressure. Brandon Colley on down on the inside lane. Colley up to 6. Somehow, we are seeing this one machine put on a heroic show. But across the line, we only needed this attempt. It's going to be your Roasted Gems coffee. White flag, no overtime needed. It's Benjamin Nelson, Larry Yingling. Nelson looks like he's got this in the bag.
And it looks like the drivers who came in and took the fresh rubber, Sam, are going to be the ones that are going to rise victorious tonight. Benjamin Nelson, one more final time down in the 3 and 4.
Benjamin Nelson, at the beginning of the race, we said, where was the speed? Where was the 79? Throughout the race, he climbed, he conquered, and he's running for a championship. Benjamin Nelson wins the 1 to go Graphics 225.
What a phenomenal drive, Sam, by Benjamin Nelson. Huge shout out to Larry Yingling as well, finishing 2nd place. But man, what a bold strategy to come in, take tires, and to drive through the field. Huge win tonight for Benjamin Nelson.
I think the biggest shock has to be 4th and 5th place finishers. John Forbes, the victim of the night, constantly caught up in wrecks, comes away with 4th. Brandon Colley, who also was a victim for most of the night. He was caught up in a multiple different instances that set him back. The fresh rubber gives him a top 5 finish. Kudos to those 2 drivers on how they finished. But Benjamin Nelson, he takes the crown, he takes the ticket. He is one of 6 drivers that will run for a championship in 2 weeks. Congratulations to the 79 machine. And for us up the booth, we're gonna have to step back, take a breather. This one was exciting from top to bottom, and we will talk to our top 3 drivers and a spotlight driver right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the WSSR Roast to Gems Cup Series. This was the first race of the round of 10, and man, did it put on one of the best shows you could ask for this season, as we got to see playoff drivers left, right, and center battling for the lead. But ultimately, it's Benjamin Nelson grabbing his 4th win of the season, and what an important one it is, locking himself into the championship round. He's one of 6 drivers that will race for a championship. No longer has to worry about points going into Richmond next week. Let's head to victory lane and talk to the 79. Ben, it's Sam and Josh up in the booth. Man, what a gamble you went for on the tires, but did it work out the best? How are you feeling after tonight? Because we're still trying to catch our breath with the constant chaos that happened all night long.
Oh, dude, I'm so happy. I've been screaming so much. I did not think that was gonna work, but I think it had a chance. It had potential, and I'm trying to catch my breath too. That's for sure.
Yeah, Benjamin, that was an absolutely incredible drive from you, restarting from the 15th position, and you didn't even need 6 laps. It took you only 3 laps to drive through the whole field and get to the front. So just talk us through your night. It seemed like you were up and down. You seemed to have speed, but not quite. Necessarily maybe the winning speed that we're accustomed to seeing on these mile and a half. So just walk us through your night and what got you here.
Yeah, I mean, I was decent pace, but I didn't really have anything for Ryan. That's for sure. He was definitely the class of the field on the long run. I think he was really good at making moves throughout the field. The cautions sort of cramped my style a little bit. I wanted to see a little bit more of the long run because I had a lot of tire lift in the bank, apparently, comparing with my teammates. But um, for the most part, it went good. I was afraid that call I made to stay out earlier was going to screw everything up for me, but I took another chance on that 10 to go caution, and boy, did that pay off. But that was some intense moves I had to make there. I barely had enough room to get in front of Larry there.
I mean, yeah, Ben, speaking of that Larry pass, you were the spearhead, really making the moves, getting through, and then you found yourself being 3 wide, and Larry was to your inside. Were you informed that Larry was down there, or were you just looking around realizing, oh, shoot, I gotta defend that driver?
No, I was just trying to get between the cars on older tires, and he just happened to be there. I don't actually know if, like, I can't remember my thought process where I even saw him or not. I was just going to the middle, and I just so happened to see him during the move. I was like, okay, well, we're clear, so let's pull out in front of that.
Well, it worked out, Ben. Congratulations on this win, and you are now officially booked to run for a championship in 2 weeks. How are you feeling on that aspect as well? And after that question, you can give yourself the floor is now yours for all your shout outs.
Oh, that feels good. Uh, Yeah, I was about to actually go to the Charlotte Roval race right after this. I'm about to leave to go to the weekend. So this is a great way to send myself off to vacation. Oh boy. That's fun. Anyway, yeah, it feels really good not to have to worry about points. This is one of the biggest wins that I've had, like in general. This was tough. This field is hard to beat. There's no doubt about it. I cherish every one of these wins, especially because you guys put on such a great broadcast that it feels like a legit NASCAR race. Just it's awesome. The entertainment value is 100% up there. Um, I'd like to give a shout out to all my family watching and my coworkers and you guys again for the great broadcasts you do. Roasted Gems Coffee, Trophy Smack, and all the admins that put on this amazing league. It's one of the best that I've ever raced in. I'm so proud to be a part of it.
Well, that will be Benjamin Nelson, winner tonight of the One to Go Graphics 225. Congratulations on this win. Enjoy the Roval, and good luck next week at Richmond.
Thank you.
As we go from victory lane, let's go down to second place to Larry Yingling, the 3-time champ. Had a chance, had a quick moment, but then had to settle for second. Larry, congratulations on a second place finish. Man, how are you feeling after that late dash to come away second?
Very lucky. I was looking about midway through the race thinking, I don't know if top 10's capable and maybe doing some different pit strategy, maybe pit before everyone and cautions start happening and they have to field pit it. So I stayed out to save a set because I was really hoping for a caution at the perfect time and it definitely came out.
Well, Larry, congratulations, man, on a really strong runner-up finish tonight. It seemed like tonight was a little bit of a yo-yo night for you. You started out really strong. We enjoyed watching the battle between you and Douglas Newbigging at the beginning of the race, and it looked like on one of those runs, maybe you burnt your stuff up a little bit on that outside, and all of a sudden we were like, where did Larry go? And we saw him, you drop almost to the top 15 or so. So just talk about, just the kind of tail of your night where you were up front, fell back, and then that late charge back at the very end there.
Oh yeah, it was definitely yo-yo for me. I got barely beat out for pole again for a second week in a row, but it kind of works out on the start, getting the lead again. Ran up top, seemed like everyone was running the bottom, and then they start catching me, and I was barely holding off Doug. He was really fast. Then, so the second run, I ran the bottom the whole time, and same thing. They caught me, and I tried to hold Doug off the whole time. And then I think it was the second run that Ryan really caught us, and I saw he was going to make a 3 wide, and I know he wanted to, but he was really just waiting for me to get by Doug. But he had such a run entering one, and I saw him make a 3 wide, and I stayed in the middle. Well, obviously had to. Then once I got put in dirty air, I fell way back, and that's when I really thought that I don't know if I can get a top 10 out this night, but for me, I'm glad it all worked out.
It did work out, and it looks like points have been officially calculated for tonight. Larry, you've got a 13-point buffer going into that of Richmond next week. Short track racing, we've seen it be very difficult for how this league can handle it. What is going to be the mentality going into a short track, knowing that there is a chance of a high caution race that we could be going into and an unknown of how that race could go?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a yo-yo night for everyone next week. I know from all my past Richmond races, they've all been fairly good. Obviously, some more cautions due to it being a shorter track. And going off of this season, probably more short tracks, but I think we got a really good group of guys in this league. If they just know what card they're in and the bumpers, how they line up, I think it'll probably be the best short track race of the season so far. So I'm very glad I got a 13-point. Hopefully, I'm not stressing late in the race about being tied with someone, but hopefully it's a good one.
Well, we can't wait to see how you're going to perform next week, Larry. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Definitely shout out my teammate this race, Ryan Kelly, plus James Heater and Kevin Hash. Kevin Hash Brown, actually, for helping out, along with DeAndre, James, and Carolyn for watching. And all my sponsors, Muffin Sports Cards and Port City Cards on Instagram, if you are interested in the hobby of collecting cards. And if you are interested in weight training or nutrition, check out Daniel Payne 1 on Instagram, virtual or in person, near the Shreveport, Louisiana area. And Cody Glencock's music on Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. And shout out to you guys for broadcast as always. I will definitely be watching this race, and I look forward to next week.
Can't wait for it. That's going to be the 67 of Larry Yingling coming away with second, as he will have the best points advantage going into Richmond next week. Congratulations to Larry, and good luck next week.
Thank you, sir.
As we move from second place, we head to third to talk to a driver. And these next two drivers, we're also going to be talking to fourth place finisher John Forbes. These two drivers had some up and down nights, caught up with messes, but still string along a top 5 finish. Ken, what's going on through your brain? How are you feeling after tonight? Because you were caught up in some pretty nasty wrecks earlier on. Then you come away with third place here tonight. How are you feeling?
Oh man, that was an exhausting race emotionally. Came in, didn't really have any short run speed at all, but long run I felt like I was starting to put something together. And then right when I was starting to make hay, that's when there'd be a caution like every single time. And I was like, all right, I've got to get some track position some way or another. Ended up going on a little bit longer of a run. That's when I was starting to really make my way up there. And got caught up with Brian and Zach, and had 2 minutes of damage to go to the back. And then from there, it was just like, all right, there's going to have to be something where I gain a lot of position. And with 20-something to go, a bunch of guys came in. I decided to stay out to keep that last set, just hoping for what happened to happen. You know, I knew I was going to need some sort of advantage on the short run, and that's all we were going to have left. And yeah, the tires just ended up doing it. And coming up through the field like that, it was crazy. I think there was three. There were people 4 wide like that. It's nuts. I'll definitely have to go back and watch it. But yeah, that was intense and a lot of fun.
Yeah, Ken. I mean, to Sam's point, I think the last time we saw you, you got hooked in the right rear and put in the wall there on the bad stretch. So what a phenomenal comeback to finish on a podium spot. But just talking about a little bit, I know you were disappointed last week with the connection issues that you had and seemingly took you out of the playoffs, obviously, which you were doing a great job up until that point, doing what you needed to do to advance. But just talk about, I guess, the bounce back, being able to come back and still show that you're a strong competitor and can run with these guys.
Yeah, that was super unfortunate. But I try to not put too much into it because other guys have had stuff happen to them throughout the season as well, and so you look at it and it's like if that hadn't happened to them, I may not have been in the position that I was in last week. So try to not focus on that too much. But yeah, coming into tonight, definitely wanted to give the playoff guys a little bit extra space. I was trying to do that. Apparently, I didn't do it well enough getting in with Brian and Zach. But yeah, definitely still want to come out and just race for myself at this point. I kind of took a little bit lesser approach coming into it, so there was a little bit of a weight lifted off my shoulders this week, and it probably loosened me up and made me drive a little bit better. And yeah, so things worked out that way.
Well, Ken, incredible rebound for yourself to come away third. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, first and foremost, as always, thanks to my wife Casey and my kids Logan, Jet, and Easton for all of their support. My mom, sister, and nephew Lawson, they always tune in and they love the broadcast. You guys do a phenomenal job. Everybody back at the shop at Storm Motorsports, Collie, Wade, Medlin, Sacchetti, and Stitz. Cole at Wanna Go Graphics for not only sponsoring the race, but sponsoring me and making the paint. So if you want to look as good as I do on track, be sure to hit him up at Wanna Go Graphics. League sponsors, Rest of Gems, Coffee, and Trophy Smack. Everybody at the league, it's a phenomenal league to be in. These guys race hard and they race fast, and I really like it. Admins do a fantastic job making sure everything's above board, and you guys up in the booth.
Well, thank you for giving us a show to call, because that one, it was entertaining from top to bottom. Congratulations, Ken, once again on a third place finish, and good luck next week at Richmond.
Thank you.
Well, from third place, our spotlight driver is going to be fourth place finisher, a driver that had some ups and downs, and you can even see it on screen, a lot of scrapes as well. John Forbes in the 11. John, you come away fourth here tonight. About, I would say, 50 laps in the race, you're already giving you the victim of the race, being caught up in so many messes. But man, you come away with fourth. How are you feeling after tonight's performance?
Yeah, I'm completely surprised. I mean, I came into this race about 10 minutes before the practice ended. Just, I mean, my playoff run's over, so I was just kind of here for fun to support the team, and yeah, it just went terribly from there. I was involved in pretty much everything tonight. And I prepared probably 7 minutes of damage over the course of the night, and the steering was all messed up. The car would, like, after I hit about 5 laps in a run just from having to steer with the damage, the tires were just killed. So, I mean, we got insanely lucky with the strategy at the end of this to save that extra set. So I was just happy to finish the race out, but to finish fourth with that was crazy.
Well, John, you alluded to, unfortunately, your playoff run came to an end last week, but I know you were kind of a pinball tonight. But what does it say about you and your team to be able to rally and to come up here and finish fourth in a night that was just so full of disaster?
Yeah, I mean, it really just like put some confidence in the bag to take to the truck series because it's like that's my main focus from here on out with that championship run. So honestly, it could be a good thing because it's gonna help me to be able to put all of my resources into that one basket. So yeah, it just shows like that's kind of just been how my season's been in both the truck series and WSSR here. So yeah, it's just been a motto for me. So to keep that on a roll and be able to come back with what probably should have been the worst run of the season is just a big confidence boost that I can take into following weeks and just into my career.
I mean, John, we got 3 more races left in the season. What are you hoping to take away from these next 3 races? We're heading to Richmond, and then we got the 2.5-mile tracks after that.
Yeah, I mean, just honestly confidence building, and I don't run these cars a lot, and I don't know what this league will be running next season. It could be the same cars, but they're honestly just a blast to come and just enjoy every week. So just kind of being here, trying to be in contention for some more wins for sure. But yeah, just we're gonna keep showing up and just building confidence. That's kind of the goal for the end of the season here in this league.
Well, John, it was incredible to watch you mentally fight through all of your adversity this evening to come away with 4th. And before we officially let you go, the floor's now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank all the friends and family watching. My brother with JFS Designs, he's getting that going shortly. So yeah, I need to thank him for all the great designs he's given me in all these leagues. I just want to thank you guys. It was a wild one tonight, so glad you guys were able to cover that, and I'll see you guys next week.
I can't wait for next week. Thank you for the show, John, and good luck at Richmond.
Thank you.
Well, we move on from our interviews. What a wild night we had, as it felt like every 20 to 30 laps there was a yellow flag coming out, so it just reset the field and let us enjoy another chaotic spill, as it was madness from top to bottom. We didn't need overtime, and it was down to strategy at the end. Drivers with 10 laps to go, the late caution, was it take tires or not? Well, it was the drivers that took tires that took the major advantage. As we take a look at our unofficial results, it's practically everyone inside of our top 10 with fresh rubber that's going to come away with these high positions. Benjamin Nelson getting the win, Larry Yingling in second, Ken Campbell third, fourth goes to John Forrest, Brandon Colley coming away with fifth after his major issues at the beginning. Ryan Kelly, one of the few drivers with old tires, comes away in sixth. Joshua Kanata, the 16, a strong points day that puts him the cutoff driver heading into next week. What a rebound for himself on the tire gamble. Cody Rita, who's caught up in a lot of wrecks as well. The tire gamble works out for 52. Isaiah Sutherland and Shane Terrian fall to 9th and 10th with their older tires.
And then just outside the top 10, Sam, I mean, guys that really ran up front all in the late stages of that race. You got all playoff drivers in a row. Douglas Newbigin, we saw him up front battling for the lead throughout the night. Kind of disheartening, you know, got the pole and finishes 11th. Cedric Hunter finishes 12th, still a good run for him, but we saw him up in the top 5 late as well. Nick Crawford was a driver that was leading this race toward the end, so he's you know, probably feeling a little disappointed to come away 13th. And then a little bit further down the board here, some big names. Brian P. Johnson got caught up in one of those incidents. Sam finishes 18th. And then Zach Hall is probably the big loser of the night, unfortunately finishing 20th.
Yeah, Zach Hall, biggest loser. He's going to go into next week with the biggest hole to climb out of heading into Richmond if he's going to fight for a championship. This was just the first race of 2 for the second round of the playoffs. We cut it from 10 down to 6, and that championship round is after next week at Richmond. And the 2 drivers that swapped that were in the top 6 and out of the top 6, well, it's Joshua Kanata and Cedric Hunter. Kanata's now in the top 6, joining with the likes of Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, Douglas Newbigin, Shane Terrian, and the locked-in driver of Ben Nelson. But now the drivers are outside looking in. Cedric Hunter, Ryan with an I Johnson, Zach Hall, Nick Crawford. Those 4 drivers all have speed to win. Next week is still going to be anyone's game on who can make it to the championship round.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, Kansas, a track you wouldn't really think that is, you know, would necessarily bring out some of the tempers in some of these drivers, but man, we saw some fierce battles tonight between, you know, some non-playoff guys with Norris and Ali Fonseca, and then you know, the playoff driver of Shane Terrian battling hard with Isaiah Sutherland. And you know, we saw some tempers kind of flare tonight, so what better way to settle it than go to a short track next week?
Go to a short track, last short track of the season before the championship round, which will be that of Homestead in Chicagoland. What a race we had here tonight. We're going to have to need a whole week to just catch our breath after tonight. It was action from top to bottom, 150 laps of just utter chaos. and we're happy to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you thought tonight was crazy, well, tomorrow night's going to be even crazier as the Stars and Stripes Racing Series get themselves prepared, taking the Gen 4 cars to North Wilkesboro. We missed out on being able to cover North Wilkesboro for the WSSR, but that was a caution-filled madness wreck-fest race. Will Stars and Stripes be able to survive the North Wilkesboro curse, or will they put on a long green flag run like we've seen them do all season long? You'll find out tomorrow night for Stars and Stripes, but for all of our other leagues, Monday, ISRC Truck Series, they are going into a new round to see who's going to move on in the Elite 8 to fight for a championship. In the trucks, full send, they are just a handful of races away from their playoffs beginning, and then we're right back here next week. Richmond, who's making the championship round? We'll have to find out. Josh, it's been a pleasure here tonight. Any final thoughts before we call it a night?
Yeah, just a phenomenal race, Sam. I mean, what a show these guys put on tonight. And Benjamin Nelson, Sam, he is. I think he's officially put himself as he's got to be the championship favorite at this point. He's the most winningest driver, and I think this was a big statement win for him tonight because I don't think he was necessarily the fastest car on track, but what winners do and what champions do is they find a way to win. And that's exactly what Benjamin Nelson did tonight. He took a little bit of a risk there, restarted, deep into the pack on a very short run and drove his way to the front and captured this win. So I think Benjamin Nelson, definitely the favorite, but then we've got some other guys that showed a ton of speed tonight. So I'm really looking forward to this cutoff race next week.
Next week should be a good one. Do not miss out, as it will be our final short track race of the season for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. To all the sponsors as well of Roasted Gems Coffee, Trophy Smack, to you, the viewers, thank you for joining with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. For myself, Sam Dyer, for as well Joshua Altis, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. Next week, Richmond, who will make it to the championship round? Only 6 drivers of the 10 will do so. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow night, Stars and Stripes, North Wilkesboro. We'll see you then on our next Freaky Fast Broadcast.